Chapter 31-20. Sun Nian was stunned. The remaining god-kings of the Frigidly sect were stunned as well. Their eyes widened as they became filled with extreme fear. More than a dozen divine kings had died just like that. They had been killed by Lu Ming in a single strike. They were the core forces of the Hanli sect. Run! Run! Sun Nian shouted in fear when he realized what had happened. He wanted to run away. Lu Ming's strength was too terrifying. He had killed more than a dozen divine kings in a single strike. There were even a few third-layer divine kings among them. Even fourth-layer divine kings could not do that. He realized that Lu Ming was a demon god that he could not afford to offend. He wanted to leave immediately and get away from Lu Ming. Unfortunately, Lu Ming would not give him the chance to do so. Squeak! 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 Lu Ming clenched his fist. Endless lightning gathered in Lu Ming's hand and shot toward Sun Nian and the remaining divine kings of the Hanli sect. Young master! Block it! Two old men shouted. They appeared in front of Sun Nian and unleashed a terrifying aura. They shot out two beams of divine light to block Qiuqiu's lightning. The two old men were fourth-layer divine kings. They were two of the three strongest divine kings of the Hanli sect. Together with the patriarch of the Hanli sect, they were both fourth-layer divine kings. This time, the Hanli sect had sent out 90% of their experts in order to completely occupy the Han clan and obtain the treasures of the Han clan. However, with Qiuqiu's current strength, the two fourth-layer divine kings could not block Qiuqiu's attack at all. A violent explosion resounded. The divine light that the two old men shot out was directly penetrated by the lightning. The lightning bombarded the two old men's bodies. The two old men's bodies trembled as if they had epilepsy. Their bodies were charred. Although they were not dead, they were half dead. As for the other divine kings of the Hanli sect, they were turned into ashes by the lightning. Only Sun Nian and the two fourth-layer divine kings who were about to die were left. Sun Nian stood in the air with a pale face. He seemed to be scared out of his wits. Swoosh! Lu Ming moved and appeared in front of Sun Nian. Ah! Don't kill me! Sun Nian screamed in horror. I won't kill you because there's someone more qualified to kill you than me. Lu Ming said coldly. Then, he stabbed out with his spear. The long spear pierced into Sun Nian's dantian, extinguishing Sun Nian's divine fire. Afterward, Lu Ming reached out and flung Sun Nian toward Han Ning. Miss Han Ning, I'll leave him to you. After Lu Ming finished speaking, he charged towards the two old men. Those two old men did not have the strength to fight back at all and were killed by Lu Ming. Han Ning, spare my life, spare my life. Sun Nian screamed miserably. Blasphemy against my Han clan, you deserve to die 10,000 times. Han Ying's voice was incomparably cold, filled with killing intent. He slashed out with his sword, chopping off Sun Nian's head. As a result, all the experts from the Frigidly sect who had come to the Han clan were killed. This time, the Frigidly sect had definitely suffered a heavy loss. 90% of their experts were killed in an instant, and their strength was greatly reduced. It would not be long before they were wiped out by the other forces in Chu Tian's star zone. After that, Lu Ming and the other two went around the Han clan's territory and chased away all the people who had come to rob the treasure. Then, the three of them worked together to gather all the members of the Han clan. They dug a big hole and buried them, building a big grave. Han Ning knelt in front of the Han clan's grave for 7 days and 7 nights before she got up. Thank you, young master Lu Ming, for your help. Han Ning is grateful. Han Ning bowed to Lu Ming again to express her gratitude. This time, if it were not for Lu Ming's help, she really did not know what to do. Miss Han Ning, you're welcome. Lu Ming said. He sighed in his heart. Speaking of which, this matter was also caused by him. If he had not been searching for the 9 extinction divine crystal, the Han clan might not have been destroyed. The Han clan will not be destroyed. In the future, I will definitely revive the Han clan. Han Ying's eyes were firm. I believe that you can do it. Lu Ming encouraged her with a smile. Then, the 3 of them left and headed towards the 9 extinction Heavenly King Palace. After a period of time, they returned to the 9 extinction Heavenly King Palace safely. This trip to Chu Tian Star Field was considered a success for Lu Ming. He had completely resolved the matter of the 9 extinction divine crystal. As soon as he returned to the 9 extinction Heavenly King Palace, Lu Ming heard a piece of news. The mastermind behind the 9 extinction divine crystal was found out. The 9 extinction Heavenly King was furious and the Sikong clan was destroyed. This matter shook the entire 9 extinction Heavenly King Palace and everyone was discussing it. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. This was strength. In the cultivation world and the chaotic universe, everything depended on strength. Otherwise, they would be destroyed. Even if Sikong Nan's sister was the 9 extinction Heavenly King's wife, it was the same. They directly returned to the Wu clan and discussed this matter with Wu Zifeng. Wu Zifeng also sighed. After that, Han Ning stayed in the Wu clan to cultivate while Lu Ming returned to the Starry Sky camp. The following days were peaceful and Lu Ming focused on cultivating. There were too many things that he needed to cultivate now. Firstly, it was the Overlord Spear Art and War God Strike that he obtained from Chu Baxing. After successfully cultivating the Overlord Spear Art, he would be able to cultivate the divine grade divine power, the Overlord Spear Force. This would greatly increase Lu Ming's attack power. However, Lu Ming could temporarily put the War God Strike aside for the time being. After all, he had not cultivated the Armageddon 3 strikes to the peak yet. In addition, Lu Ming also felt that he had touched the threshold of 5 times his combat strength. As long as he worked hard to comprehend it, he would be able to control 5 times his combat strength sooner or later. In addition, Lu Ming did not want to give up on the Yin Yang God Eye. This was an extremely powerful secret technique. The deeper one comprehended it, the greater its power. The most important thing was the comprehension of the divine power itself. Although the sovereign divine power had awakened the origin divine power, this was only the first awakening. There would be a second awakening, a third awakening, a fourth awakening. Moreover, some people with terrifying talent could even comprehend the origin divine power from the origin divine power. Every origin divine power was passed down from the primordial divine spirit. Its power was far beyond the current secret techniques. Moreover, Lu Ming had already awakened the undying sword force to 99%. Just one more step and he would be able to fully awaken it. In that case, Lu Ming's strength would increase by another level. However, all of these would consume a lot of Lu Ming's energy. Lu Ming informed Xiao Qiuyu and entered deep seclusion. Lu Ming planned to cultivate the Overlord Spear Art first. After mastering the Overlord Spear Force, he would comprehend the rest. Lu Ming was already familiar with cultivating the divine grade secret technique. It did not take long for Lu Ming to comprehend the first level of the divine grade secret technique and cultivate a strand of Overlord Spear Force. After that, there was no need to continue comprehending it. He just needed to slowly nourish it and strengthen it. Then, Lu Ming's palm glowed and a scroll appeared. This scroll was the one that Blue Merchant had given to Lu Ming. It contained the Blue Merchant's comprehension of the sovereign divine power. Lu Ming opened it and read it carefully. Chapter 31-21. Lu Ming opened the scroll and read it carefully. At first, Lu Ming was still a little confused, but the more he read, the brighter Lu Ming's eyes became. Wonderful, truly wonderful, Lu Ming sighed. Blue Merchant's understanding of the sovereign's God force was too profound. Some of the insights he had read made Lu Ming slap the table in praise. Lu Ming felt his understanding of the sovereign's god force deepening rapidly. In the following days, Lu Ming immersed himself in comprehending the sovereign's god force. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. After 20 years of bitter cultivation, Lu Ming's understanding of the sovereign's god force had reached a new height. However, he was still a long way from the second awakening of his quintessence god force factor. On this day, Lu Ming received a transmission from Blue Merchant, saying that he had compiled some of the insights on the other god forces that Lu Ming cultivated and asked him to take them. Of course, Lu Ming ran over eagerly. During this period of time, he had already tasted the sweetness of the Blue Merchant scrolls. With these insights as reference, his cultivation speed was much faster. He could avoid many detours and save a lot of time. This time, Blue Merchant gave Lu Ming 6 different scrolls. These were the other god forces that Lu Ming cultivated. Although Lan Shang had only cultivated one type of sovereign's divine power back then, his realm had been too high. He had seen other powerhouses use it, and his understanding of other types of divine powers was far beyond Lu Ming's. Many thanks, Lan Shu. Lu Ming put away the scrolls and smiled from ear to ear. Cultivate well. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to look for me. Not long later, there's an important mission for you to complete. This matter is related to whether or not we can overturn Jing Yu's case. Blue Merchant said. What is it? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. At present, Lu Ming had 2 important things on his mind. The first was the matter of Jing Yu. Back then, he had sworn to help Jing Yu reverse the verdict. The other thing was that he had to raise his cultivation to the Divine Monarch realm as soon as possible and then go find Xian Yanqing. Therefore, when he heard that he could help Jing Yu overturn the case, he was immediately energized. I'll tell you about this in the future. Right now, you just need to focus on your cultivation. Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only take his leave. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming couldn't wait to open the scroll regarding the invincible sword force and read it carefully. Lu Ming's days continued to be peaceful as he cultivated wholeheartedly. His understanding of the invincible sword force was rapidly deepening. In the blink of an eye, another 20 years passed. On this day, Lu Ming's body suddenly emitted an ancient and desolate aura. This was the aura that could only be emitted after awakening the divine origin power factor. However, this aura was slightly different from when the sovereign god force had awakened the divine origin power factor. This was because the invincible sword force had awakened the divine origin power factor. After 20 years of cultivation, Lu Ming's invincible sword force had finally awakened the divine origin power factor. In this way, Lu Ming had 2 types of god force that had awakened the divine origin power factor, increasing his battle strength by another level. Moreover, during this period, Lu Ming had been slowly nourishing the Overlord Spear Force. His Overlord Spear Force had been constantly improving and had already condensed a divine flame. Let's go find Uncle Blue Merchant and ask for advice. Lu Ming put away the invincible sword force and then headed toward Blue Merchant's residence. During this period, he had accumulated some questions that he wanted to ask Blue Merchant. Lu Ming arrived at Blue Merchant's residence and saw Lan Ling. Lan Ling coldly snorted when she saw Lu Ming. She looked as if she wanted to eat Lu Ming alive. Clearly, she was still holding a grudge against Lu Ming for teaching her a lesson last time. Lu Ming grinned at Lan Ling and then ignored her. He went to find Blue Merchant. After finding Blue Merchant, Lu Ming asked all his questions. Blue Merchant also patiently guided him. In the following days, Lu Ming went back and forth between his residence and Blue Merchant's residence. He would go into seclusion here and there. Lu Ming's schedule was packed to the brim every day. He took turns to study all kinds of God Force skills and secret techniques. His days were very fulfilling. Just like this, more than 100 years passed. It had already been 150 years since Lu Ming returned from Chu Tian Star Field. After this period of bitter cultivation, Lu Ming's foundation was solid. He improved steadily in all aspects, and his strength improved greatly. First, Sovereign God Force. Lu Ming had already cultivated to the peak of the first awakening of his origin God Force. He felt that he was not far from the second awakening. Of course, to cross this step, he needed a fortuitous encounter. He could cultivate so quickly, and it was inseparable from Blue Merchant's guidance. After all, Blue Merchant cultivated Sovereign God Force back then. Therefore, Lu Ming's Sovereign God Force also improved the fastest. In addition, the battle character formula finally broke through and successfully comprehended 5 times battle strength. However, the success rate was only a few tens of %. The probability was extremely low. In addition, after so many years, the quantifying character formula also refined a portion of the stellar core's energy and transferred it to Lu Ming, allowing Lu Ming's cultivation to improve greatly. Not only did he cultivate the Conqueror Spear's force to the peak, his cultivation had also broken through to the 7th level Heaven God realm. In other words, Lu Ming had improved in all aspects in the past 100 years. His strength had undergone a qualitative change. However, Lu Ming felt that his potential had not been used up yet. He had not reached his limit yet. If he continued to cultivate in seclusion, he could still have breakthroughs. Lu Ming planned to cultivate in seclusion for a period of time before going out to temper himself. Lu Ming, get out here. On this day, Lu Ming was cultivating when a loud roar came from outside. Lu Ming came out from his cultivation and frowned slightly. Could it be that someone is challenging me? Lu Ming pondered in his heart. There was a rule in the interstellar camp. As long as a genius who had just joined the interstellar camp defeated someone and occupied a courtyard, they would have 50 years of safety. In these 50 years, they could reject the challenge of others. When he had just joined the interstellar camp, many people had challenged Lu Ming, but they were all rejected by Lu Ming. Now that 50 years had passed, others could challenge him now. Is it the Jin family, the Qin family, or the Winged Man family? Various thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He then stood up and stepped out. As soon as he walked out of his room, he saw Chiu Moon walking out of her room as well. All these years, Chiu Moon had been cultivating in seclusion to break through to the Divine King realm. However, it was not easy to break through to the Divine King realm. Even though Chiu Moon was extremely talented and had the inheritance of the Divine I Lord of Heaven, she still had not broken through. Young master, what happened? Chiu Moon asked. I don't know. Let's go out and take a look. Lu Ming smiled as he opened the door of the courtyard and walked out. As soon as he walked out, he saw a group of people surrounding the courtyard. They were all geniuses of the interstellar camp. The group of people had their eyes on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you finally came out? A young man in a golden robe spoke first. Judging from his voice, it was obvious that he was the one who had asked Lu Ming to get out. Chapter 31-22. Are you from the Jin clan? Lu Ming stared at the golden-robed young man and asked. That's right. The golden-robed young man replied. Oh, so you want to challenge me? Lu Ming's voice turned cold. He took a step forward and a powerful aura pressed down on the golden-robed young man. The golden-robed young man was frightened and took a few steps back. Who said I want to challenge you? The golden-robed young man said in a panic. If you don't want to challenge me, why are you yelling here? Are you tired of living? Lu Ming's face turned colder and his eyes flickered like lightning. The golden-robed young man shuddered and took a few steps back. The golden-robed young man felt embarrassed and yelled, Lu Ming, why are you being so arrogant in front of us? Go ahead and be arrogant in front of the people of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence if you dare. That's right, Lu Ming, you're hiding in the starry camp and making us suffer the wrath of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence. Do you still have any shame? Another young man with a scale on his forehead yelled. He was obviously from the Qin clan. Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence? Lu Ming was stunned. What did this have to do with the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence? Brother Wu, what's going on? Lu Ming looked at the other two young men. They were Wu Ming and Wu Yu. Brother Lu, it's like this. Wu Ming and Wu Yu immediately walked over and explained to Lu Ming. It turned out that the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence had brought a group of geniuses to the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence to promote the interaction between the young geniuses. The geniuses of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence had been challenging others as soon as they arrived at the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence. Many geniuses in the Starry Camp had been challenged recently. For a period of time, there had been a lot of battles. Although both sides had their victories and defeats, the people of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence had cultivated saber skills and possessed great offensive strength. Therefore, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence had the upper hand overall. On top of that, some of the young men in the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's residence had challenged Lu Ming by name. They wanted Lu Ming to come out and die. However, during this period of time, Lu Ming was wholeheartedly focused on cultivation and was completely unaware of what was happening in the outside world. The Starry Sky Camp was an important place in the Nine Extinction Heavenly King Palace. Outsiders were not allowed to enter. It was normal that Lu Ming did not know about it. However, how could the Jin family, Qin family, and Winged family, who had great enmity with Lu Ming, let go of Lu Ming so easily? Therefore, they personally brought people to Lu Ming's residence, wanting to force Lu Ming out and let Lu Ming face the challenge of the Nine Blades Heavenly King residence. After hearing this, Lu Ming understood. Previously, Lu Ming had killed many of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's geniuses in the Star Crescent ancient city. However, other than Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and a few others, no one knew that he had killed young Master Heavenly Mantis. However, many people knew that he had killed Chu Baxing. It was normal for the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's geniuses to challenge him. Lu Ming, if you hide, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence will vent their anger on us. If you hide, we will take the blame for you. How dare you? That's right. Hurry up and face the challenge. After the Jin family and Qin family's instigation, the others began to shout. The Jin family, Qin family, and Winged family had instigated many other families' geniuses to come together. Where are the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's people? Lu Ming asked nonchalantly. He had cultivated for more than 150 years and his combat strength had increased tremendously. He was just about to stretch his body when the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's people came at the right time. Although he knew that the Jin family and Qin family wanted to force him to fight the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's people, he had nothing to fear. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's geniuses are in the Heavenly King district. The golden-robed young man from the Jin family could not wait to shout. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King residence was divided into many districts. The Heavenly King district was the core of the Heavenly King residence. It was also the most prosperous district of the Nine Extinction Heavenly King residence. Heavenly King district? Lu Ming smiled and said to Wu Ming and Wu Yu, Brother Wu, let's go and beat up the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence's people. Brother Lu, you have to be careful. There are many Divine King realm geniuses from the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence this time. Wu Ming quickly reminded Lu Ming with concern. Although Lu Ming was almost invincible among those below the Divine King realm, the Divine King realm geniuses were too strong. They were worried for Lu Ming. Divine King realm geniuses? Great. Let's go. Huh. Lu Ming laughed heartily and walked towards the exit of the Starry Sky camp. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming's strength is shocking. Even Jin Yuan was killed by him. I wonder how he will fare against the Nine Sabers Heavenly King Residence's people. There's going to be a good show. Some of the young men discussed as they followed Lu Ming from afar like a long tail. Lu Ming, Wu Ming, and Wu Yu walked at the front. After leaving the Starry Sky camp, they turned into a few rays of light and continued to head towards the Heavenly King district. Soon, they arrived at the Heavenly King district. Looking from afar, there were countless majestic buildings built on the ground. At a glance, it was boundless and there was no end in sight. This place was an incomparably huge city. It was just that there were no walls. Some of the buildings were built on the ground while some were suspended in the air. From afar, they could see living beings of different races flying around. It was a lively and bustling scene. Where are the people from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence? Lu Ming turned around and asked the young men from the Jin family and Qin family. They are in the battle zone on the west side. The young man in the golden robe from the Jin family quickly replied. He could not wait for Lu Ming to go there. The battle zone on the west side? Lu Ming was puzzled. It was his first time in the Heavenly King district and he had no idea what was going on here. The battle zone is where the Heavenly King district is for people to spar with each other. Lu Ming, come with us. Wu Ming said and flew forward. They flew past countless buildings and soon arrived at an open area. There were many battle stages built on the open area. At that moment, two young men were fighting fiercely on the battle stage in the middle. The battle stage was surrounded by spectators. They flew over. The two young men fighting on the battle stage were both half-step divine kings. One of them used a saber and it was obvious that he was a genius from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. The other used a long sword. The two of them exchanged more than 10 blows and it was difficult to determine the winner. In the end, both of them left the battle stage. Shush! After the two young men left the battle stage, a spear radiance flashed and a young man in armor landed on the battle stage. His aura was violent and a spear radiance shot up to the sky from his body. A huge spear shadow appeared between the heavens and earth, stirring up the void. An ancient and desolate aura was emitted from it. Half-step Divine King, Origin Divine Force Factor. Someone said in a solemn voice. He is a peerless genius from the War God family of the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. His name is Chu Badian. He is a half-step Divine King and he has awakened the Origin Divine Force Factor. His strength is terrifying. He is the one who has been challenging Lu Ming. Someone whispered. Lu Ming naturally heard what they said. Chapter 31-23. Chu Baishan's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Where's Lu Ming? Is he still a coward? Tell him to come out and face his death. Didn't I tell you that Lu Ming is cultivating in the Starry Camp? Someone replied. Humph, what a coward. Fine, if he doesn't come out, I'll challenge all of you. Who wants to fight? Chu Badian roared in a domineering manner. Many people from the Nine Extinction Heavenly King residence had ugly expressions on their faces. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. Chu Badian was the descendant of the War God clan and his battle prowess was extremely strong. Some time ago, there was a half-step Divine King from the Nine Extinction Heavenly King residence who had awakened the Origin Divine Force and fought with Chu Badian. However, he was no match for Chu Badian. No one below the Divine King realm could defeat him. However, Chu Badian was a half-step Divine King. If they sent a Divine King realm genius to deal with him, it would be embarrassing even if they won. No one dares to fight? Humph, the people from the Nine Extinction Heavenly King residence are a bunch of trash. Chu Badian scolded, his arrogance growing. Lu Ming, since you're here, why don't you fight? At this moment, a voice resounded throughout the entire place. The person who shouted was the young man in golden robe from the Jin family. His eyes were gleaming with pride. He wanted to expose Lu Ming and let Lu Ming fight with Chu Badian. If Lu Ming lost, he would be killed by Chu Badian. If Lu Ming won, he would offend the War God clan. It was killing two birds with one stone. What? Lu Ming is here? Where is he? Suddenly, the crowd was in an uproar. Over there. Finally, someone who had seen Lu Ming pointed in the direction where Lu Ming was. Almost everyone's gaze fell on Lu Ming. Lu Ming. On the battle stage, Chu Baishan's eyes shone brightly. His body emitted a strong killing intent as he locked onto Lu Ming. Lu Ming also looked at Chu Badian. However, Lu Ming's gaze was calm, and even contained a trace of disdain. With his current strength, Chu Badian wasn't a threat to him at all. You're Lu Ming? How dare you kill a member of my War God family? Get down here and die. Chu Badian bellowed. You're no match for me. Lu Ming said indifferently. Many people were stunned by his words. Lu Ming's words were too arrogant, right? The other party was a peerless genius of the War God clan, an invincible character beneath the God King realm. Yet, Lu Ming did not place the other party in his eyes at all. Arrogant. If you have the strength, then come down here and fight, not just with your mouth. Chu Badian said coldly. Although he had heard that Chu Baxing had died at the hands of Lu Ming in the Star Crescent ancient city, he had heard that Lu Ming had killed Chu Baxing. However, he did not believe that Chu Baxing had been killed by Lu Ming in broad daylight. He was well aware of Chu Baxing's strength, which was about the same as his. How could Lu Ming kill Chu Baxing when he was several layers above him? Impossible. He believed that Chu Baxing must have been under some kind of restriction in the Star Crescent ancient city, which was why he was killed by Lu Ming. Since you're asking for it, I'll fulfill your wish. Lu Ming said indifferently. He took a step forward and landed on the battle stage, facing Chu Badian. Everyone's gaze fell on the two of them. Who do you think is stronger between Lu Ming and Chu Badian? Some people began to discuss. I think Chu Badian, the genius of the War God clan. He's unparalleled in battle strength and is almost invincible beneath the God King realm. Someone sighed. Don't forget, Lu Ming killed Jin Yuan. That's right. Lu Ming is also a monster. It seems like we'll have to fight to find out who's the winner. Chu Baishan's eyes narrowed when he heard the crowd's discussion. Lu Ming killed Jin Yuan? Was Lu Ming really that strong? Boom! Chu Baishan's body erupted with a powerful aura. He did not dare to be careless when he heard the crowd's discussion. A dense, desolate and ancient aura filled the air. Whoosh! Following that, a spear appeared in his hand. The spear vibrated, and a spear light pierced towards Lu Ming's throat. Lu Ming did not take out his spear. Instead, he used his divine force to form a spear and stabbed it towards Chu Badian. Boom! The two spear lights collided, and a violent explosion erupted. It was as if two meteors had collided. Then, a violent force rushed towards Chu Badian. Chu Baxing's body trembled, and he was forced to retreat. Overlord Spear Force? Lu Ming said in a low voice. There was no doubt that Chu Baishan's divine force was the Overlord Spear Force cultivated by the Overlord Spear Art. Is that all you've got? Lu Ming spoke nonchalantly, his tone full of disdain. Damn it! Chu Baishan's heart trembled, and then he was enraged. Strike of the War God! Chu Badian roared, and his divine force surged. Then, a giant appeared in the sky. The giant was clad in battle armor and wielded a spear. His battle intent surged as he stabbed his spear at Lu Ming. Strike of the War God! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, Lu Ming's body moved, and he rushed up to meet the strike of the war god. Boom! This time, the explosion was even more intense. Lu Ming's body drifted backward, and the huge god of combat also retreated continuously. Of course, it wasn't that Lu Ming couldn't stop the war god. Lu Ming retreated on purpose. During this period of time, he had begun to comprehend the war god clan's divine skill, strike of the war god. Lu Ming was fighting with Chu Batian, so he could take the opportunity to comprehend the strike of the war god. This would be beneficial to his cultivation, so Lu Ming purposely retreated to allow Chu Batian to fully unleash the strike of the war god. As expected, Chu Batian saw that he couldn't defeat Lu Ming with his first move, so he roared again and used the strike of the war god again to attack Lu Ming. The giant war god held a spear in his hand, and spear shadows filled the sky. Sky-piercing. Lu Ming shook his spear, and spear shadows shot out like shooting stars. Boom! 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 Lu Ming fought with Chu Batian as he tried to comprehend the strike of the war god. In a battle, one's comprehension of a divine skill was the fastest. Lu Ming's comprehension of the strike of the war god was rapidly improving. Chu Batian was getting more and more anxious. He had already unleashed his full strength, but he still couldn't take down Lu Ming. On the other hand, Lu Ming was only a 7th-level celestial god. He finally realized how terrifying Lu Ming's battle prowess was. It was possible that he could kill Chu Batian with his own battle prowess. Chu Batian was starting to think of retreating. "It's about time," Lu Ming muttered. Then, he changed the direction of his spear. Dazzling divine power soared into the sky, and a giant war god appeared. This god of war was almost identical to the one that Chu Batian had conjured. Strike of the war god. In the battle just now, Lu Ming had finally comprehended the strike of the war god. He was able to create a giant war god to attack with. Strike of the war god, how can you use the strike of the war god? Chu Batian roared in disbelief. Chapter 31-24. Chu Batian roared in disbelief. His eyes widened in disbelief. Lu Ming could use the war god strike too. He was dumbfounded. Whoosh! Lu Ming's war god strike pierced towards Chu Batian's war god strike with his spear. The long spear whistled through the air. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Chu Batian finally reacted and controlled his war god to block the attack. Boom! The two huge war gods collided, creating a shockwave. However, as soon as the two war gods collided, cracks began to appear on Chu Batian's war god. The cracks spread all over his body like a spider web. Then, with a bang, it exploded. Puff! Chu Batian spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. Die! Lu Ming shouted softly. The god of combat in the sky moved his arm and the long spear pierced toward Chu Batian. In an instant, he traversed the space and charged toward Chu Batian. Ah! Chu Batian screamed in fear as he was enveloped by the cold killing intent. Stop! At this moment, a figure dashed out from the edge of the fighting stage with shocking speed. Before the figure arrived, a terrifying spear gleam, as large as a mountain, swept toward the god of combat that Lu Ming had condensed. The violent shockwave engulfed the war god, causing it to shake violently. Then, it exploded, turning into energy and disappearing. In the next moment, a young man in black armor appeared in front of Chu Batian. A violent aura surged out from him like a tidal wave. A divine king. The young man was a divine king and he was a genius. The divine power that he possessed was of the divine grade. Lu Ming could see that his opponent was in the first layer of the divine king realm. As expected, my understanding of the war god strike isn't enough. Lu Ming muttered, not showing the slightest fear. Although a first layer of the Divine King realm was much stronger than a half-step Divine King, Lu Ming wasn't afraid of him. The reason why his war god was destroyed by his opponent's spear was because he didn't understand the war god strike well enough. Lu Ming, Chu Wei, will be your opponent, said the genius of the first king god layer coldly. His aura was wild as he displayed the prestige of a king god realm warrior. You're shameless. You're a genius at the Divine King realm. How dare you attack a heavenly god? Wu Ming roared. Chu Wei's face turned slightly red. An exalted Divine King actually challenged a 7th-level celestial deity existence. It was indeed somewhat embarrassing. However, he had to kill Lu Ming today. Otherwise, wouldn't their war god clan be looked down upon by others? How glorious was the war god clan in the past? Over the years, they had continuously declined. They no longer had their former glory. But in this generation, the war god family was filled with geniuses. Peerless geniuses were popping up like bamboo shoots after the rain. This made the people of the war god family ambitious. They wanted to regain their former glory. At this time, how could they be suppressed by others? Therefore, even though he knew it would be embarrassing, he still had to attack and kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you killed a genius of my war god clan. You must die. Chu Wei roared. His intention was clear. This wasn't an ordinary duel. It was for revenge. In this case, he had a reason to attack. Shameless is shameless. What's the point of finding excuses? Wu Yu shouted. Humph. Chu Wei snorted and ignored Wu Ming and Wu Yu. He took a step forward and a powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Obviously, he wanted to force Lu Ming to fight. Come. At this moment, Lu Ming's calm voice was heard. Although his voice was calm, it was filled with a powerful battle intent. Lu Ming had seen many ordinary divine kings and had fought with them many times. However, he had never fought against a genius divine king with divine force. He was looking forward to it. Lu Ming's voice silenced the scene. No one had expected that Lu Ming would dare to accept the challenge. Kill. Chu Wei no longer hesitated and attacked. He waved his spear and a huge spear light pressed down on Lu Ming. He had the intention to crush Lu Ming into meat paste. The powerful divine force of a divine king surged out and its power was terrifying. A mighty force spread out in all directions. Divine Dragon Aspect. Lu Ming whispered and displayed the Divine Dragon Aspect art. The divine force in his body went berserk and rushed out crazily. Roar! 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 9-clawed dragon formed in the sky. In an instant, 5 9-clawed dragons were formed. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they rushed towards Chu Wei. Boom! Boom! The 9-clawed dragon collided with Chu Wei's spear light and exploded, turning into a vast energy that rushed out in all directions. You can't stop me. Die! Chu Wei shouted. His divine force surged and the spear light continued to press down on Lu Ming. Is that so? Although the 5 9-clawed dragon were defeated, Lu Ming's face was still calm. He continued to throw out punches. The dragon roar sounded again, shaking the heavens and earth. In the next moment, more than 10 9-clawed dragon appeared in the sky. Yes, there were 15 of them. After more than 150 years of cultivation and under the guidance of Blue Merchant, Lu Ming's understanding of the Divine Dragon Aspect art had improved greatly. Now, he could form 15 Divine Dragon Aspects in one breath. 15 huge 9-clawed dragon covered the sky. Their bodies were winding and their dragon aura was shocking. Many of the onlookers narrowed their eyes and exclaimed, "There are so many 9-clawed dragon. What kind of secret technique is this? What a shocking secret technique! While the crowd was still in shock, the 15 nine-clawed dragon had already rushed towards Chu Wei. The spear light that Chu Wei had condensed began to vibrate intensely. Then, with a loud boom, it exploded. After destroying Chu Wei's spear light, the remaining 9-clawed dragon continued to pounce on Chu Wei. Chu Wei's face changed and he shouted, "Strike of the war god." The armor on his body shone brightly and a huge war god appeared in the sky. It held a spear and looked mighty. Whoosh! 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 The spear in the war god's hand trembled, and countless spear shadows burst forth, one after another, towards the 9-clawed divine dragon. Chu Wei had used the ultimate move of the war god clan. Even though Chu Wei hadn't awakened his origin god force yet, his awakening rate had already reached 90%. On top of that, he was a god king, so the might of his god of war strike was far greater than that of Chu Badian and Chu Badian. The sky above the fighting stage was boiling. Waves of energy spread out as if they were going to devour everything. The two fought intensely and it was hard to determine the winner. A divine king is indeed much stronger than a half-step divine king. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. For geniuses like Chu Batian and Chu Baxing, their battle prowess could definitely suppress ordinary cultivators of the first layer of the godly king realm. However, they weren't a match for geniuses like Chu Wei. Lu Ming could easily defeat Chu Batian, but it would not be easy for him to defeat Chu Wei. Chapter 31-25. Lu Ming could easily defeat Chu Batian, but it wouldn't be so easy to deal with Chu Wei. Of course, this was because Lu Ming hadn't transformed into his ancient god body. Once he did, it would be easy to deal with Chu Wei. However, Lu Ming didn't want to use his ancient god body for the time being. Ice shackles. With a thought, Lu Ming sent out 9 ice shackles towards Chu Wei like 9 long snakes. The 9 ice shackles easily passed through the waves of energy and swept towards Chu Wei. Before the ice shackles reached him, the terrifying chill had already caused Chu Wei's expression to change. War God Gallop. Chu Wei roared as his spear changed, emitting an even more terrifying wave of energy. Another god of war appeared in the sky. However, this god of war was slightly different from the previous one. This war god was riding on a huge warhorse. With this, the war god's movements were much more agile. As for Chu Wei himself, he stood on top of the war god's head. The warhorse stepped on the air, causing the sky to rumble. Like a phantom, it flashed out of the range of the ice shackles and charged towards Lu Ming. Whoosh! A huge spear light pierced towards Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. The war god strike can be used like this. It's really strange. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The 9 ice chains rapidly retracted and formed a wall in front of him. The spear gleam bombarded the wall formed by the ice chains and was successfully blocked. As Lu Ming's cultivation increased, the ice shackles became stronger and stronger. Their defensive power also increased. After blocking the attack, the ice shackles moved and immediately counterattacked, wrapping around Chu Wei. At the same time, Lu Ming punched out with both his fists. Another 15 nine-clawed dragon condensed in the sky and pounced towards Chu Wei from all directions, blocking his path of retreat. Moon slashing. After unleashing the divine dragon Dharma idol, Lu Ming immediately took out his long spear and unleashed the move Moon beheading, chopping down towards Chu Wei. A crescent-shaped spear light slashed towards Chu Wei. At the same time, Lu Ming displayed 3 kinds of attacking methods, his attacks raining down like a storm. Chu Wei's expression was extremely grave. He also used all of his means to resist with all his strength. He first swung away the ice chains, but the 9-clawed dragon followed up with another attack. When he blocked the 9-clawed dragon's attack, the moon slash struck again. In the end, Chu Wei wasn't able to block the moon slashing strike, and the strike landed on the war god's head. The war god shook violently before exploding. The surging energy rushed towards Chu Wei, causing him to retreat tens of thousands of meters and cough up a mouthful of blood. Kill. Lu Ming did not give Chu Wei the slightest chance to catch his breath. He rushed forward with his spear, and in an instant, 3 crescent-shaped spear lights slashed towards Chu Wei. Chu Wei was injured and could not use much strength at all. Even if he tried his best, it was useless. He barely blocked 2 of the crescent-shaped spear lights, but he could not block the third one. The third crescent-shaped spear light slashed Chu Wei's body, sending him flying out of the battle stage. Boom! Chu Wei crashed heavily on the ground and slid on the ground for tens of thousands of meters, dragging a deep trench in the ground. Chu Wei lay in the trench, coughing up blood continuously. His aura was extremely weak. The battle armor on his body had been split open, almost splitting him in half. Chu Wei, defeated miserably. The scene was silent. Many people who saw Lu Ming fight for the first time were really shocked. Lu Ming's battle strength was too strong. He was only a 7th-level heavenly god, but he defeated Chu Wei. Chu Wei was not an ordinary divine king, but a genius divine king who controlled divine power. Yet, he was still no match for Lu Ming. Such battle prowess could be said to be terrifying. Terrifying, truly terrifying. Many people heaved a sigh of relief, their faces full of shock. 9 Sabers Heavenly King Residence, Battle God Family? You can't even withstand a single blow. Lu Ming looked down at Chu Wei and said indifferently. This made Chu Wei and Chu Baishan's faces turn ugly. Humiliation, this was a great humiliation. The Battle God family had many geniuses in this generation. They wanted to rise up, but they were defeated by Lu Ming consecutively. This was undoubtedly a great blow to the Battle God family's reputation. Arrogant brat, do you think you can insult the Battle God family? You're courting death. A cold rebuke was heard from afar. Then, a group of youths stepped on the air and came over. There were more than 20 youths in this group. Most of them carried battle sabers on their backs. Their auras were as sharp as battle sabers. It's the 9 Sabers Heavenly King Residence's geniuses. Someone exclaimed. Obviously, more geniuses from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King Residence had arrived. The geniuses from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King Residence who were nearby were only a small part of the group. Now, more of them had arrived. The geniuses from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King Residence were very fast. In a few breaths' time, they had arrived. Swoosh! One of the youths was very domineering. He slashed his saber at Lu Ming from afar. A huge energy saber spanned hundreds of miles and slashed at Lu Ming violently. Rumble! The air in the sky churned with a terrifying howl as if it was going to split the area in half. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. His opponent had slashed at him from so far away. However, the power of this slash made Lu Ming's face turn solemn. This was because the power of this slash had surpassed Chu Wei's strongest attack. Divine Dragon Dharma form. Lu Ming shouted and quickly waved his hands. Dragon roars could be heard as 15 9-clawed dragons appeared and charged forward. At the same time, 9 ice chains flew out and formed a layer of defense in front of Lu Ming. Meanwhile, a layer of 9-layered golden armor appeared on Lu Ming's body. Bam! 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 In the next moment, there was a violent explosion. The 15 9-clawed dragons collapsed and were defeated one by one. Then, the energy saber slashed at the defensive wall formed by the ice chains. Buzz buzz buzz, sparks flew and the ice chains shook. In the end, a crack appeared on the ice chains. The terrifying saber chi passed through the crack and slashed at the 9-layered golden armor. Dong! Lu Ming's body shook violently and he retreated until he reached the edge of the fighting ring. Origin Divine Power Factor. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. The youth who had attacked just now was also a First Heaven Divine King. However, he had awakened the Origin Divine Power Factor and his combat strength was much stronger than Chu Wei's. It's the Origin Divine Power Factor. Everyone exclaimed when they felt the aura of the youth. Swoosh! The youth took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. A cold aura shrouded Lu Ming. How dare you humiliate the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residents and the War God family? Who gave you the courage? How arrogant! Come, let's fight! The young man shouted coldly. He was arrogant and domineering. He did not take Lu Ming seriously at all. Although Lu Ming was strong, he was confident that he could easily crush Lu Ming. Chapter 31-26. A Divine King Elite who has awakened the Origin Divine Force Factor? Lu Ming murmured as a strong battle intent emanated from his body. Lu Ming finally felt some pressure from such a person. Chu Baxing, Chu Batian and the others were only half-step Divine Kings. Their battle prowess was already terrifying after awakening the Origin Divine Force Factor. They could even defeat Divine King experts who were a whole realm higher. Once someone like him reached the Divine King realm, his battle prowess would skyrocket. The rate of increase would be extremely shocking. They were all in the first layer of the Divine King realm. Such a person could easily kill Chu Wei. Lu Ming was not afraid. Instead, he was excited. His battle prowess had also increased tremendously over the years. He wanted to fight with all his might. Come, let me see your strength. Don't disappoint me like the previous two. Lu Ming said. Many people's eyelids twitched when they heard that. Lu Ming was really bold. He wanted to challenge his opponent. Could it be that Lu Ming could really fight such a person? That would be too terrifying. Although Lu Ming could defeat Chu Wei, he's definitely not a match for this person. The difference between an awakened Origin Divine Force Factor and an awakened Origin Divine Force Factor is too big. That's right. It's too difficult to bridge the gap. Many people shook their heads secretly. They did not think that Lu Ming could defeat his opponent. Ha ha ha, a 7th-layer heavenly god dares to talk to me like that. Good, good, good. This trip to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence has broadened my horizons. Come, let's see how many moves you can take from me. The genius from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residence laughed arrogantly. Then, his body shook and the battle saber on his back was unsheathed. A mighty saber aura soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. Seeing that his opponent was about to attack, Lu Ming circulated the divine force in his body. He wanted to transform into his ancient god body to fight against his opponent. A divine king who has awakened the Origin Divine Force Factor wants to fight against a 7th-layer heavenly god. Does the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residence think that the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence is a pushover? At this moment, a voice came from afar. Then, a group of people flew over. In the next moment, a group of young geniuses appeared in the sky. The person in the lead was dressed in luxurious clothes. He had a handsome appearance and a dignified aura emanated from him as he stood there. It's the third prince. Greetings to the third prince. Many people bowed when they saw him. It turned out that this person was the son of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King. He was also the third prince of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion, 9 Extinction Mu. He was also a peerless genius. On the fighting ring, the young man with a saber on his back said coldly. He stared at the third prince like 2 divine sabers. Divine kings. A terrifying aura burst out from the third prince's body, which was filled with an ancient desolation aura. The powerful aura pushed away the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius. 9 Extinction Mu, you better not interfere. This man killed a genius of the War God clan in Starry Crescent Ancient City. He must die. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius said coldly. What a joke. In Star Crescent Ancient City, it's common for people to fight for treasures and kill each other. In the past, many people from my 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace died in your hands. Are you saying that you're allowed to kill our people and we're not allowed to kill yours? The third prince retorted. He killed the son of a big shot from the War God clan. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius said coldly. I don't care who he is. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you. The third prince was very domineering. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. He wanted to fight with the third prince to test his strength. He did not expect the third prince to interfere and he would not get what he wanted. However, Lu Ming did not mind. If he wanted to make a move, there were many opponents. 9 Extinction Mu, are you trying to bully me with your numbers? The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius said coldly. As soon as he said that, the other geniuses from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence unleashed their auras. Most of them were at the Divine King realm. With so many people's auras gathered together, it was shocking. So what if we have more people? Remember, this is the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence. In the next moment, the young geniuses who came with the third prince also unleashed their auras. We're willing to fight with the third prince. Then, some of the people who were watching the fight shouted and unleashed their auras. We're willing to fight with the third prince. Then, more people followed suit and shouted. Boom! 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 In an instant, thousands of auras shot up to the sky and pressed down on the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's geniuses. With so many people unleashing their auras at the same time, it was too shocking. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's auras were crushed. Their bodies shook violently and their faces turned pale. What are you doing? Are you trying to start a war with the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence? One of the geniuses from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence shouted. Let's start a war. I'm not afraid of you. The third prince shouted coldly. He was domineering and did not back down. His aura continued to press down on the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's geniuses. At the same time, the other people's auras gathered together and pressed down on the other party. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's geniuses trembled violently as if they were about to be forced to their knees. Their faces flushed red as they resisted with all their might. However, if this continued, they would be injured sooner or later. They might even be forced to their knees. They were all top geniuses. If they were forced to their knees, it would be a great humiliation to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence. Boom! At this moment, there seemed to be an explosion in the sky. A terrifying aura came crashing down like a tidal wave. This aura was too terrifying. It was mighty and filled with supreme aura. It was high up in the sky and could not be resisted. In front of this aura, everyone was like an ant. As the aura pressed down, everyone's aura collapsed. They were as vulnerable as tofu. 9 Extinction Mu, Lu Ming, and most of the people at the scene trembled violently as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled and they spat out a mouthful of blood. The aura of a Sir God. Bone Demon roared in his consciousness. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with shock. He could also feel that this was definitely the aura of a Sir God. Lu Ming had sensed Sikong Nan's aura and the 9 Extinction Heavenly King's aura. The aura now was very similar to Sikong Nan and the 9 Extinction Heavenly King's aura. It was on the same level. In fact, it was even more terrifying than Sikong Nan. It was more profound and unfathomable. The others also looked horrified. There were so many people at the scene, but they were easily suppressed by the other party. The person who came was definitely a terrifying expert. Chapter 31-27. The aura in the sky continued to spread out, as if an incomparably terrifying beast was about to appear. Then, a figure appeared in the sky. The figure was shrouded in divine light and his appearance could not be seen clearly. However, he gave off a majestic feeling. All of the aura was being emitted from this person's body. Sky King, it's the Sky King. The sky prides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents were overjoyed. Sky King, it's the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. The people at the scene were shocked. That person was the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King had personally taken action. Nine Sabers, what are you doing? You dare to attack my people in my territory? Do you think I'm easy to deal with? At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. No one knew where this voice came from, but it suddenly spread in all directions. As the voice sounded, a mysterious aura also spread out. The terrifying aura on the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King was neutralized by the aura. Lu Ming, Nine Extinction Mu, and the others felt the pressure on them lessen as they let out a long sigh. They felt that their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. Facing the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King, they were under too much pressure as if they were facing a disaster at any time. It was an unbearable feeling. Sir God. Lu Ming clenched his fists and once again felt the power of a Sir God. In front of such an expert, he could not even resist. He could not even muster up the thought of resisting. The difference was too great. Father. At this moment, the third prince shouted in surprise. It's the Nine Extinction Heavenly King. Many people were shocked. In the next moment, the space above everyone's head rippled and a figure appeared. Lu Ming recognized the figure at a glance. It was the Nine Extinction Heavenly King. Lu Ming was a little speechless. He did not expect that the fight between him and a few sky prides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents would attract the attention of the Nine Extinction Heavenly King and the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. The two Heavenly Kings were important figures even in the Taishu dynasty. Nine Extinction. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King whispered as his eyes emitted a dazzling light. A terrifying aura rushed towards the Nine Extinction Heavenly King. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King also unleashed his aura. Boom! The two auras collided, causing the space to tremble violently. It was as if the entire starry sky was trembling violently. What shocked everyone the most was their hearts. Many people revealed looks of anticipation and apprehension. After obtaining the two Heavenly Kings, a great battle would break out today. The battle between Heavenly Kings would definitely be earth-shattering and destructive. Nine Blades, what do you want to do by coming to my Nine Absolute Heavenly King mansion? If you really want to fight with me, then let's fight. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King's voice resounded throughout the entire place, sonorous and powerful. Jiu, what are you nervous about? The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King grinned. He quickly withdrew his aura and became as still as a rock. Not a single trace of aura leaked out. At the same time, the divine light on his body disappeared, revealing his true appearance. It was a middle-aged man with a square face. His face was chiseled like a knife. When he opened and closed his eyes, it was as if there were terrifying saber lights bursting out. This was the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. Nine Blades, what are you trying to do? The Nine Extinction Heavenly King asked again. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's strength was unfathomable. If they were to fight, he was not confident of winning. As for the Nine Extinction Heavenly King mansion, other than him, no one was a match for the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King mansion. That was why the other party dared to bring people to the Nine Extinction Heavenly King mansion. I brought people here for a simple reason. The day of the Great Void Imperial Family's holy court is approaching. Wouldn't it be great to bring these sky prides here and let them spar with each other? The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King smiled. On top of that, I've prepared a huge gift for you this time. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King added. Big gift? What gift? The Nine Extinction Heavenly King rode. Would the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King bring a big gift? He seriously doubted it. Everyone, please take a look. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King smiled. Then, his palm glowed and a pitch-black orb that kept spinning appeared in his hand. Everyone's eyes naturally fell on the orb. What's that? Many people were at a loss. However, a small number of people's pupils contracted as if they had thought of something. Could this be the legendary divine power source orb? An elder exclaimed, his voice trembling. What? Divine power source orb? Impossible. How could the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King be willing to take out the divine power source orb? The scene was noisy and boisterous. It was unbelievable. Those who had awakened the divine power origin factor could awaken the origin-sourced secret technique from the divine power origin factor. This secret technique was hidden in the divine power origin factor. It was a secret technique that the primordial divine spirit controlled. This secret technique was mysterious and unfathomable with terrifying power. It was easy to use and could accompany a person for a lifetime. Its value was immeasurable. However, the probability of awakening it was extremely low. It was so low that it was shocking. Moreover, there was no pattern. It purely depended on one's talent. Some people could awaken the origin-sourced secret technique after one awakening of the divine power origin factor. Some people could only awaken the origin-sourced secret technique after 2 awakenings. Some people could only awaken the origin-sourced secret technique after 3 awakenings. Moreover, among 10,000 people who had awakened the divine power origin factor, there might not even be one who could awaken the origin-sourced secret technique. It was too difficult. However, there were all kinds of strange things in the boundless universe. There would always be all kinds of wonderful treasures. The divine power origin pearl was a kind of supreme treasure. It could help a person to understand the divine power origin factor's origin-sourced secret technique with a success rate as high as 90%. This was almost equivalent to being able to understand an origin-source secret technique as long as one obtained a divine power origin pearl. This value was too precious. It was even more attractive to the younger generation of skyprides who were ambitious to fight for supremacy. However, there were too few divine power origin pearls. It was not something that could be obtained with a high cultivation base or a high status. It required luck and could only be found by chance. Unexpectedly, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King had a divine power origin pearl. Many people's eyes were burning. If the divine power origin pearl was not in the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's hands, the others would have opened fire. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King also looked surprised and said, "Nine Sabers, what is your purpose for taking out the divine power origin pearl?" It's very simple. I plan to hold an event to let the skyprides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents and the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents compete. Whoever can get the divine power origin pearl will have it. The others are not allowed to snatch it. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King said. As soon as this was said, everyone was shocked. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King wanted to take out the divine power origin pearl and let the younger generation compete for it. Whoever could snatch it would have it. Even the skyprides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents were surprised. The skyprides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents and the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residents had burning eyes. Especially those skyprides who had awakened the divine power origin factor, their eyes were burning. Chapter 31-28. The Great Void Imperial Family's Sacred Institute would be held soon. Once he obtained the divine power source bead and comprehended the origin divine power, his strength would definitely increase greatly. At that time, when the sacred academy of the Great Void Imperial family was held, they would definitely be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. They would be able to suppress all the heroes and seize an extremely high position. This would be extremely important to their future prospects. It would be strange if he wasn't tempted. 9 blades, I didn't expect you to be so willing to spend so much. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King's face was gloomy. I have to avenge what happened back then. The 9 Blades Heavenly King sneered. 9 Extinction Heavenly King's eyes were cold. He already knew 9 Sabers Heavenly King's plan. When they were young, the 9 Extremities Heavenly King had killed the 9 Sabers Heavenly King's younger brother. Since then, the two parties had formed a deadly feud. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King had always wanted to take revenge. For countless years, the two Heavenly Kings' manners had been fighting each other endlessly. Last time, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King had bribed Sikong Nan to secretly help the Dark Ice Clan steal the 9 Ju Divine Crystal. His purpose was to arouse suspicion and jealousy among the major families in the 9 Ju Heavenly King Palace and trigger conflicts between the major worlds. This would cause a war between the major families and weaken the overall strength of the 9 Ju Heavenly King Palace. Once the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion's strength was weakened to a certain extent, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King could lead the army to attack the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. Unfortunately, their plan had been seen through last time, and it didn't have the corresponding effect. This time, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King had the same goal. With the divine power source bead as the bait, all the aristocratic families would fight over it. The divine power source bead was too precious. In order to obtain it, all the geniuses would definitely fight with their lives on the line. It was normal for them to kill each other. When that happens, once many heaven's favorites fall, it will aggravate the conflicts between the clans and trigger a war between the clans. This was the 9 Blades Heavenly King's plan. How do you want to proceed? 9 Extinction Heavenly King asked. It's very simple. This time, I will set up a huge array. All the participating Sky Prides will enter the array. I will place the divine power source bead on a puppet. The Sky Prides who enter the array will obtain the divine power source bead and stay in the array for a month. After a month, the divine power source bead will belong to whoever still has it. No one else is allowed to snatch it. Otherwise, they will be my enemy. Of course, the cultivation of the geniuses who are allowed to enter the formation is limited as well. The highest cultivation level is in the first layer of the God King realm. The 9 Blades Heavenly King explained the rules. The young geniuses with cultivation bases above the first King God realm pulled a long face. Warriors above the first King God realm lost the qualification to compete for the divine power source bead. 9 Blades, don't go overboard, the 9 Extinction Heavenly King said with a gloomy expression. With the 9 Sabers Heavenly King's arrangement, one could imagine that those prodigies who had entered the formation would definitely engage in a fierce battle. At that time, the prodigies of the various aristocratic families would kill each other, which might really trigger conflicts. What? Jiu-Ju, could it be that you don't want the geniuses below you to fight for the divine power source pearl? Could it be that you want to directly rob them of their opportunities? If you have the ability, take out a divine power source pearl and give it to your subordinates. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King sneered. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion was speechless. The divine power source orb was something that could only be chanced upon and not sought. It wasn't something that could be obtained just because one's cultivation was high or one's status was high. He didn't have it on him either. 9 Blades Heavenly King's scheme was not a conspiracy, but an overt one. Even if he knew the other party's goal, he could not refuse. Once he refused and did not allow the prodigies of the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion to participate. Those prodigies would definitely have a lot of complaints and his deterrence would be greatly reduced. The Nine Blades Heavenly King's lips curled into a cold smile. He knew that the Nine Blades Heavenly King could only agree and not refuse. Alright, since Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion is willing to put in so much effort, the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion will accept the Divine Power Source Pearl as a gift. The Nine Blades Heavenly King's voice resounded throughout the entire place. This made many prodigies excited and eager to give it a try. Alright, I will now find a place to set up the formation. The competition will begin 7 days later. If you want to participate, feel free to sign up. The Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion said. Having said that, the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion's eyes scanned the surroundings and landed on Lu Ming in the end. A cold light flashed in his eyes. You are Lu Ming? The Nine Blades Heavenly King asked. Many people were surprised. The Nine Blades Heavenly King actually knew Lu Ming? Being stared at by the Nine Blades Heavenly King, Lu Ming felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if he was being stared at by a terrifying giant beast, as if he would be devoured at any time. Lu Ming felt a great sense of danger. Taking a deep breath, Lu Ming calmed himself down and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "That's right. I am Lu Ming." Very good. You are indeed a young hero. The Nine Blades Heavenly King smiled faintly, then ignored Lu Ming and left with the people of the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion. The Nine Blades Heavenly King's eyes flickered a few times. He then took a step forward and left the place. The scene was in an uproar. The news about the Divine Power Source Pearl spread like a storm throughout the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion, causing a great commotion. A Divine Power Source Pearl could allow a peerless prodigy who had awakened the Origin Source Divine Power to take another step forward and become a true top prodigy of the Taishu dynasty. The attraction was fatal. Countless prodigies woke up from their seclusion and planned to participate in the competition. Lu Ming, are you going to participate? Wu Ming asked Lu Ming. Of course. Lu Ming smiled. Although he had a feeling that he would be targeted by the people of the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion once he participated, he did not want to miss out on the Divine Power Source Pearl. Once he obtained the Divine Power Source Pearl, he would be able to comprehend an Origin Source secret skill, which would be of great help to him. Not long after, the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion and the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion sent people to register. Those who wanted to participate in the competition, as long as their cultivation was in the first layer of the Divine King realm or below, were eligible to participate. In an instant, a large number of people had signed up. Even some of the youths who did not have a high cultivation base were hoping for a fluke. Although the competition for the Divine Power Source Pearl depended on one's strength, it also depended on one's luck. If one was lucky enough to find the Divine Power Source Pearl and find a place to hide for a month, the Divine Power Source Pearl would be his. It was only a month, and it would be over soon. Lu Ming also signed up. However, he did not let Chiu Moon sign up. During this period, Chiu Moon had already touched the edge of the Divine King realm and was in seclusion to break through to the Divine King realm. He believed that she would succeed soon. After signing up, Lu Ming returned to his residence to cultivate and wait patiently. Time flew by, and soon, 7 days had passed. 7 days later, countless prodigies gathered in the Heavenly King district. Other than the prodigies who were participating in the competition for the Divine Power Source Pearl, there were many others who were there to watch. There was a sea of people, and it was impossible to count how many people there were. Lu Ming saw the Wu clan's patriarch, the Jin clan's patriarch, the Qin clan's patriarch, the Winged clan's patriarch, and others in the crowd. The patriarchs of these major families had shown up. Chapter 31-29. Buzz. Ripples appeared in the void and a figure appeared in the sky. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King had arrived. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King stood motionless in the sky and waited quietly. Not long after, streaks of rainbow light flew over from another direction. The people from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residence had arrived. The person leading them was the 9 Sabers Heavenly King. Behind him, other than 2 old men, the rest were young people. There were more than 100 young people and each of them had a dignified appearance. They were all giants among men. 9 Sabers, everyone is here. Let's begin. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King looked at the 9 Sabers Heavenly King. Just what I want. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King smiled faintly and then waved his hand. Suddenly, dense runes appeared in the open space in front of them. These runes formed a large formation that enveloped a large expanse of empty space within it. The open space was very wide and included mountains and lakes. There were all kinds of terrains. This was the large formation that the 9 Sabers Heavenly King had set up over the past 7 days. After the large formation appeared, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King waved his hand again and a huge tiger appeared in the sky. This ferocious tiger was not a living creature of flesh and blood, but a puppet. First layer Divine King Realm. Many people were shocked and felt that the tiger puppet's aura was equivalent to a first-layer Divine King Realm. After taking out the tiger puppet, the Divine Power Source Orb appeared in the 9 Sabers Heavenly King's hand. Seeing the Divine Power Source Orb, many people were excited. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King waved his hand and the Divine Power Source Orb flew out and flew towards the tiger puppet's forehead. It then embedded itself in the tiger puppet's forehead. Roar! The tiger puppet roared and stepped into the air. Its body turned into a ray of light and flew towards the large formation and disappeared into it. Look, when the tiger puppet disappeared into the large formation, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King waved his hand again and a large image appeared in the sky. In this image, one could clearly see that the tiger puppet from before was sprinting through a forest. This image can show what's going on inside the formation. We can see what's going on inside. In a moment, you all will enter the formation and chase after that puppet. As long as you obtain the Divine Power Source Bead and stay in the formation for a month, the Divine Power Source Bead will be yours. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King announced. Then, he looked at the 9 Extinction Heavenly King and said, 9 Extinction, what do you think? You don't have any objections, right? No. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King said indifferently. Alright, let's begin. The 9 Blades Heavenly King's voice reverberated throughout the entire area. Let's go. As soon as the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion finished speaking, a young man soared into the sky and charged towards the formation. Whoosh! Whoosh! One figure after another flew toward the formation. There were at least a few hundred of them. These people were all geniuses of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King mansion. Some of them were at the first heaven of the Divine King realm, but there were also half-step Divine Kings and even 9th Heaven God realm experts. These people were all hoping for a fluke. The area covered by the formation was too large, and the territory was vast. If he was lucky and managed to get the Divine Power Source Bead, he could find a place to hide. After a month, the Divine Power Source Bead would be his. Many people had the same thought. Hundreds of sky prides flew into the range of the formation and disappeared. But in the next moment, the huge picture in the sky showed the young man who had entered. After the young men entered the formation, they spread out and flew in different directions. Then, more and more young geniuses flew toward the formation. Some of them were existences with astonishing strength. However, the sky prides of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion were not in a hurry to go forward. They looked relaxed and sneered. Let's go. At this moment, Lu Ming moved and charged toward the formation, disappearing into it. This kid has ruined my plan. If you see him in the formation, kill him for me. The Nine Blades Heavenly King's voice rang in the ears of the skyprides of the Nine Blades Heavenly King mansion. Sikongnan's plan was going well, but it was ruined by Lu Ming in the end. He had no choice but to come to the Nine Extinction Heavenly King mansion personally and use the Divine Power Source bead to carry out his plan. This made him extremely unhappy. "Don't worry, Heavenly King. I will bring his head to you. That kid is mine." Instantly, the skyprides of the Nine Blades Heavenly King mansion spoke, their eyes emitting cold killing intent. "Go!" The Nine Blades Heavenly King waved his hand, and more than 100 skyprides of the Nine Blades Heavenly King mansion flew forward into the formation. Lu Ming entered the formation and appeared on top of a mountain. As expected of a formation set up by a Heavenly King. It's like a world within the formation. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He randomly chose a direction and flew forward. The formation covered a vast area. He had no idea where the tiger puppet had gone, so he could only fly and try his luck. Outside the formation, in the sky, the huge picture was constantly changing, projecting the scene within the formation. The picture switched to the tiger puppet for a while, then to the other skyprides. A day passed quickly. In the beginning, the skyprides were just randomly searching and trying their luck. But a day later, someone approached the tiger puppet. "It's the skyprides of the Su family." Someone exclaimed softly, revealing an excited expression. They were the elites of the Su family. In the picture, there were 5 young men who were very close to the tiger puppet. These 5 young men were the skyprides of the Su family. The elites of the Su family were naturally happy. As long as the Su family's skyprides encountered the tiger puppet, they could kill it and obtain the Divine Power Source bead. Then, they could hide the Divine Power Source bead and find a place to hide. As long as they could hide for a month, the Divine Power Source bead would belong to the Su family's skyprides. With the Divine Power Source bead, the Su family would give birth to a peerless skypride who had awakened the secret art of origin. When the Taishu Imperial family's Holy Institute convened, they would definitely shine. When the Taishu Imperial family's Holy Institute convened, even the sage emperor of the Taishu dynasty would personally come. As long as they performed well and caught the sage emperor's eye, their future would be limitless. The other aristocratic families also watched nervously, afraid that the skyprides of the Su family would encounter the tiger puppet. But in the picture, the skyprides of the Su family were indeed getting closer and closer to the tiger puppet. "I found the tiger puppet." Suddenly, one of the skyprides of the Su family exclaimed, his eyes burning with passion. "Kill!" The 5 skyprides of the Su family were excited. They immediately dashed towards the tiger puppet. Among the 5 skyprides of the Su family, 3 of them were in the first layer of the King God realm. The other 2 were half-step King God realm skyprides who controlled divine-grade divine power. Killing a first layer of the King God realm was more than enough for them. 5 attacks shot towards the tiger puppet. Roar! The tiger puppet roared as it sensed danger. It jumped up and fled. Chapter 31:30. The tiger puppet tried to escape, but it was still unable to avoid all of the attacks. 2 of the attacks landed on the tiger puppet's body. Boom boom. 2 loud booms were heard as the tiger puppet was sent flying, crashing into a mountain peak. The mountain peak exploded, sending rubble flying everywhere. However, a figure dashed out from the debris, running away. It was the tiger puppet. It had been hit by 2 young geniuses of the first layer of the King God realm, but it didn't seem to be affected. What a strong defense! The young geniuses of the Su family were surprised. The 2 young geniuses of the first layer of the King God realm had attacked the tiger puppet. Their destructive power was incredible. If an ordinary King God realm cultivator was hit, he would be severely injured, if not killed. However, the tiger puppet didn't seem to be affected at all. One could imagine how strong its defense was. Go after it. The 5 young geniuses of the Su family chased after it, but the tiger puppet was too fast. The 5 young geniuses of the Su family couldn't catch up with it. Damn it! The young geniuses of the Su family shouted. It was a pity. Just a little bit more and the tiger puppet actually managed to escape. The young geniuses of the other families heaved a sigh of relief. The tiger puppet is going to the young geniuses of the Jin family. Suddenly, someone shouted. In the image, the ferocious tiger puppet was running. Not far from the ferocious tiger puppet, there were 6 young men in golden robes. They were the geniuses of the Jin family. Damn it! The young geniuses of the Su family were annoyed, while the young geniuses of the Jin family were overjoyed. Even the head of the Jin family was happy. The tiger puppet was getting closer and closer to the young geniuses of the Jin family. Finally, the young geniuses of the Jin family noticed the tiger puppet. It's the tiger puppet. Huh, we're lucky. Let's go. The young geniuses of the Jin family were overjoyed. They attacked the tiger puppet one after another. The tiger puppet kept dodging, but there were still a few palm strikes that landed on its body, blowing it away. At this moment, the young geniuses of the Su family arrived. Not good. Let's go. The prodigy of the Jin family was shocked and continued to fly forward. The prodigies of the Jin and Su family immediately surrounded the tiger puppet. The tiger puppet shook its body and stood up. It glanced around, but didn't attack. He seemed to have a mind of his own and knew that he could not escape. We were the ones who discovered the tiger puppets. Scram! One of the geniuses of the Jin clan shouted coldly and looked at the people of the Su family with hostility. You're the ones who should get lost. We were the ones who discovered the tiger puppet first, and we've been chasing after it. A heavenly talent of the Su family shouted in response. As an aristocratic family, the Su family was not afraid of the Jin family. You discovered it first? Huh, you really know how to talk. If you don't scram, then don't blame us for being rude. The Jin clan's heaven's favorites said coldly. Their murderous intent emerged. You're welcome. Do you think we're afraid of you? The prodigy of the Su family also responded strongly. Roar! At this moment, the tiger puppet roared and charged in a certain direction. This was like lighting a fuse. Attack! Kill! The prodigies of the Jin and Su family attacked at the same time. Wave after wave of attacks blasted towards the tiger puppet. Boom! 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 So many attacks bombarded the tiger puppet's body, and a huge crater appeared on the ground. The tiger puppet was blasted into the crater. However, the tiger puppet's defense was really amazing. So many attacks landed on its body, but it did not break apart. The tiger puppet kept roaring and struggling, trying to escape. Unfortunately, it was suppressed by so many elites and could not move. Boom! Boom! Wave after wave of attacks landed on the tiger puppet's body. At this moment, a young man from the Jin clan had a cold look in his eyes. A golden battle sword flew out from between his eyebrows and slashed towards a young man from the Su family. The young man from the Su family was shocked. He hurriedly dodged, but he was still a step too late. A deep sword wound appeared on his body, and he was severely injured. Kill! The young man from the Jin clan roared and continued to attack his opponent. The golden sword that could cut through space made a terrifying sound as it slashed towards the young man from the Su family. The young man from the Su family was careless and was severely injured. He could not fight back. He screamed in agony as his body was cut in half, and he died on the spot. A first heaven divine king realm genius was killed just like that. Jin clan, you are despicable. Outside the formation, an elite from the Su family shouted angrily. His aura surged towards the people from the Jin clan. However, the Jin clan's elite also released his aura, blocking the aura of the Su family's elite. Despicable? This is a competition for treasures. When competing for treasures, you can use any means. Who asked you guys from the Su family to be so stupid? An elite from the Jin clan replied coldly. You, the elite from the Su family, was depressed. He glared at the people from the Jin clan. His eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King's face was gloomy. The scene that he was worried about had happened. The geniuses from different worlds would definitely fight to the death for the divine power source bead. This would definitely deepen the hatred and conflict between the families. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King sneered. This was exactly what he wanted to see. Inside the formation, one of the geniuses from the Su family was killed. The other geniuses from the Su family were furious. Damn it! Kill them! Kill these bastards from the Jin clan! The remaining geniuses from the Su family roared and attacked the young men from the Jin clan. For a moment, the two sides were fighting fiercely. The tiger puppet finally found an opportunity to break out of the encirclement and run away. Damn it! Go after it! When the geniuses from the Jin clan saw the tiger puppet running away, they immediately attacked and repelled the people from the Su family. Then, they chased after the tiger puppet. Don't even think about running away. The people from the Su family did not let the Jin clan go. They chased after the tiger puppet. In the blink of an eye, they had chased for tens of thousands of miles. Finally, the tiger puppet encountered the third group of geniuses. It's the tiger puppet, huh? The divine power source bead is ours. A group of 5 young men appeared in front of the tiger puppet. When they saw the tiger puppet, they attacked it and sent it flying. However, they did not break through the tiger puppet's defense. However, the people from the Jin clan and the Su clan managed to catch up to the tiger puppet and surround it. The Sun family. The eyes of the geniuses from the Jin and Su family flashed. A group of people appeared behind them. They were from the Sun family. The 3 parties formed a confrontation and surrounded the tiger puppet. The geniuses from the Su family glared at the people from the Jin family, but they did not make a move. The situation was complicated. It was not the time to make a move. The 3 parties faced each other. For a moment, none of them made a move. Chapter 31-31. None of the 3 parties made a move. This ferocious tiger puppet's defense is extremely shocking. It won't be easy to break it open. How about this? Let's work together to kill this ferocious tiger puppet. Then, we'll compete for the godly power pearl with our own strength. One of the Jin family's prodigies suggested. Alright, we agree. One of the Sun family's prodigies nodded. Then, the Jin family and Sun family looked at the Su family. Alright, we agree too. In the end, the Su family's prodigies also agreed. Alright, let's attack together. The Jin family's prodigy nodded. His body glowed as he attacked the tiger puppet. Then, the Su family's prodigies and the Sun family's prodigies attacked together. There were more than a dozen elites from the 3 parties. There were even 8 or 9 godly kings. Their strength was extremely shocking. With so many elites attacking together, the tiger puppet was no match for them and was suppressed. Boom! 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 The ground under the tiger puppet kept cracking. The tiger puppet was embedded in the ground and could not move. Although the tiger puppet's defense was strong, it could not withstand the attacks of so many people at the same time. After being attacked a few times, the tiger puppet finally could not take it anymore. Cracks appeared on its body. Everyone's eyes lit up as they attacked even more vigorously. Of course, everyone was on guard against each other. They were afraid that the other party would suddenly attack. Crack! Crack! The sound of porcelain cracking became more and more frequent. Dense cracks appeared on the tiger puppet's body. Finally, it exploded with a bang. Whoosh! The tiger puppet exploded, but the divine power source pearl was not damaged at all. It turned into a ray of light and rushed out. The divine power source pearl is mine. It's mine. Suddenly, everyone's eyes were filled with a burning light as they rushed toward the divine power source pearl. Die! I've been guarding against you. Furious roars rang out as the geniuses of the three clans broke out into a chaotic battle, attacking each other. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure rushed toward the divine power source pearl. It was the Su family's prodigy. That person was wrapped in a thick layer of rock armor. He ignored his injuries and rushed toward the divine power source pearl. You're courting death. The geniuses of the Jin clan and Sun clan shouted coldly and attacked. However, the prodigy of the Su family had an amazing defense. Many attacks landed on his rock armor, making clanging sounds and sending sparks everywhere. Of course, no matter how strong the Su family's prodigy's defense was, he couldn't withstand so many attacks. However, he only needed to defend for a while. When the rock armor on his body exploded, he had already pounced in front of the God Power Source bead and grabbed it in his hand. Catch! The prodigy of the Su family waved his hand, and the divine power source pearl flew towards another prodigy of the Su family like a rainbow. The prodigy of the Su family stretched out his hand and caught the divine power source pearl. Then, he turned around and ran. You want to leave? Stay. Damn it. The prodigies of the Jin and Sun families chased after the prodigy of the Su family like madmen. The prodigy of the Su family who had snatched the divine power source pearl coughed out a mouthful of blood. His body trembled, and he fell to the ground. The other two half-step divine king prodigies of the Su family quickly flew over and caught him. Are you all right? One of them asked. I'm fine. I hope Su Kuang can escape. The prodigy of the Su family said. However, just as he finished speaking, a golden light slashed down from the sky. Its aura was terrifying. It slashed toward the prodigy of the Su family, Su Kuang. Su Kuang was shocked. He quickly blocked the attack. A layer of rock armor also appeared on his body, wrapping around his body. The Su family specialized in defense. However, when the golden light slashed down, Su Kuang's rock armor was as fragile as tofu. Slash! Su Kuang's body was cut in half, and he died on the spot. A prodigy of the first heaven of the King God realm was killed instantly. Then, a figure appeared beside Su Kuang's corpse. He waved his hand and grabbed the divine power source pearl. Jin Xiang. It's Jin Xiang. Damn it. Whether it was the remaining prodigies of the Su family or the Sun family, they all exclaimed in shock. Their faces were solemn. Jin Xiang was one of the 4 prodigies of the Jin family. He was at the first heaven of the King God realm. Moreover, he had awakened the divine power source. His strength was terrifying. A prodigy like him could be said to be at the top of the pyramid in this competition for the divine power source pearl. Damn the Jin family! Outside, the experts of the Su family roared in anger. Another prodigy of the Su family had died. They were all prodigies of the King God realm. Being able to break through to the King God realm at such a young age was rare. There were not many of them in each family. Such geniuses were the future pillars of their respective clans. But now, 2 of them had already died. They were both killed by the Jin clan. It would be strange if the experts of the Su family were not angry. Ha ha ha, great! The experts of the Jin family laughed excitedly. The divine power source pearl had fallen into Jin Xiang's hands. Who could take it away? With Jin Xiang's strength, as long as he hid the divine power source pearl and found a place to hide, it would be easy for him to survive a month. The experts of the Jin family could already see Jin Xiang awakening the secret technique of the origin from the divine power source pearl. Given Jin Xiang's strength, once he awakened the secret technique of the origin, his strength would skyrocket. He would definitely shine during the sacred institute of the Great Void Imperial family. He might even be valued by the sacred emperor. Then, the Jin family would soar. In the formation, Jin Xiang's face was filled with joy. He carefully looked at the divine power source pearl in his hand and wanted to keep it in his storage ring. However, in the next moment, Jin Xiang's face changed. The divine power source pearl could not be kept in his storage ring. Jin Xiang tried a few more storage rings, but the results were the same. Damn it! I can't keep it. Jin Xiang was furious. The divine power source pearl was emitting a strange energy that spread out in all directions. If he could not keep it, it would be easily discovered by others. It would be difficult to hide it. In that case, it would be very difficult for him to survive a month. How could he not be angry? The others also looked surprised. The divine power source pearl could not be kept. Nine Sabers, you've gone too far. The voice of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence sounded in Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's ears. It was extremely cold. The Nine Blades' Heavenly King must have done something to the divine power source bead to prevent it from being put away. If that was the case, it was almost impossible for the person who obtained the divine power source bead to hide and spend a month in peace. He would definitely be hunted down and robbed by others. One could imagine how intense the fighting would be later. The more intense the fighting, the deeper the conflicts between the major families. Too far? How can it be? Since it's a competition, of course, the more intense the better. Only then will it be exciting. Otherwise, do you think a treasure like the divine power source pearl is so easy to obtain? Nine Sabers' Heavenly King sneered in response. Chapter 31-32. The Nine Extremities' Heavenly King snorted coldly. The main reason was that the divine power source pearl was too tempting, especially to the young prodigies. Even if he knew about the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's scheme, he could not stop it. Countless people present had different thoughts. In the array, Jin Xiang's eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. He glanced at the Su family and the Sun family. His eyes were cold. Since he couldn't keep the divine power source bead, he would kill everyone from the Sun family and the Su family. That way, the news of him obtaining the divine power source bead wouldn't be leaked out so quickly, and he could delay it for a while longer. If he was lucky, he might be able to delay it for a month. You guys, delay the Sun family. I'll kill the Su family. Jin Xiang transmitted his voice to the prodigies of the Jin family. The Jin family prodigy's eyes flickered as he nodded silently. His body suddenly moved and pounced on the prodigies of the Sun family. Jin Xiang turned into a golden lightning bolt and charged toward the remaining three young prodigies of the Su family. Oh no, he's going to kill us. One of the prodigies of the Su family was shocked. Retreat. The three prodigies of the Su family wanted to retreat and escape. However, two of the remaining three prodigies of the Su family were half-step divine kings. Although one of them was a divine king, he was severely injured earlier. Their speed was much slower than Jin Xiang's. Jin Xiang flashed and caught up with the three prodigies of the Su family. Whoosh! Whoosh! The golden sword light slashed toward the three prodigies of the Su family. Blood spurted out as three screams were heard. The remaining three prodigies of the Su family were all killed. Jin family, you're courting death. I'll destroy you. Outside the array, the elites of the Su family were enraged when they saw this. They were like mad beasts, and their eyes were bloodshot. They wanted to kill the elites of the Jin family. What are you doing? Are you rebelling? When you entered the array, you should have been prepared to be killed. If you can't afford to play, you shouldn't have sent anyone in. The Jin family leader shouted coldly, and a violent aura spread out. Boom! The auras of the Jin family leader and the Su family leader clashed, causing huge waves. The war between the two families was on the verge of breaking out. However, at this moment, a terrifying aura pressed down on their bodies, causing the expressions of the experts from the two families to change drastically. This was because this aura came from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King. Since you're going in to fight for treasures, killing is inevitable. Since you've sent people in to fight for treasures, you should be prepared to be killed. Don't bring the grudges inside to the outside world. Don't let others laugh at you, understand? The 9 Extinction Heavenly King said coldly. Heavenly King is wise. The head of the Jin family hurriedly said. Yes. The patriarch of the Su family and the experts of the Su family could only lower their heads. But in their hearts, they were still filled with resentment. The 9 Blades Heavenly King sneered. Once the conflict was triggered, how could it be resolved with just a few words from the 9 Absolute Heavenly King residents? Now, the 9 Extinction Heavenly King had suppressed it, but in the future, the conflicts between the various great families would definitely not be suppressed. Damn it! At this moment, the experts of the Sun family were also very worried. Golden Elephant obviously wanted to silence them. After killing the geniuses of the Su family, he would kill the geniuses of the Sun family. Golden Elephant, let us go. We promise that we won't tell anyone that you have the divine power source bead. At this moment, a genius of the Sun family shouted. They were all in the first heaven of the King God realm, but the difference in strength between those who had awakened their divine power source bead and those who had not was too great. If Golden Elephant wanted to kill them, it would not be difficult at all with the help of the other geniuses of the Jin family. Swear on your life origin that you won't tell anyone. I'll let you go if you swear on your life origin that you won't tell anyone. Golden Elephant's eyes flickered a few times before he said. The Sun family had a good relationship with the Jin family and the Qin family. Back in Xingyue Ancient City, the Qin family had invited the Sun family to kill Lu Ming together. Therefore, after some consideration, Golden Elephant decided to let the Sun family go so that the relationship between the two families would not be affected. Alright, we swear. The geniuses of the Sun family quickly nodded and swore on their life origin. You can go now. After the geniuses of the Sun family swore on their life origin, Golden Elephant waved his hand, signaling them to leave. The geniuses of the Sun family were overjoyed and were about to leave. However, at this moment, a terrifying whistling sound was heard. Not far away, a stone spear was flying towards the first heaven of the King God realm of the Jin family at a terrifying speed. The genius of the Jin family had relaxed after Golden Elephant had arrived. He had never thought that someone would attack him. It was too late for him to block the attack. Puff! The first heaven of the King God realm of the Jin family was pierced through the head by the stone spear. He died on the spot. Who is it? Golden Elephant was furious. He looked in the direction where the stone spear had come from. His eyes looked as if he wanted to eat someone. Swoosh! A figure flashed and a tall young man appeared in that direction. Su Yan, it's Su Yan. Huh, good job killing him. Outside the formation, the experts of the Su family were overjoyed. On the other hand, the experts of the Jin family looked gloomy. A genius of the first heaven of the King God realm had been killed. Su Yan, it's you. Golden Elephant stared at Su Yan with cold, murderous eyes. Su Yan glanced at the corpses of the geniuses of the Su family. His eyes were cold as he said, Golden Elephant, you killed so many geniuses of the Su family. I want you to pay with your blood. Boom! Su Yan's body emitted a terrifying aura. Divine King Realm. Su Yan's cultivation base was at the Divine King Realm. Su Yan's cultivation base was only at the half-step Divine King Realm back in the Starry Crescent ancient city. However, after killing Lu Ji of the Nine Sabers Heavenly King Palace, Su Yan had gained a lot. After going into seclusion for a while, he had successfully broken through to the Divine King Realm. Su Yan had awakened the Divine Origin gene when he was at the half-step Divine King Realm. After breaking through to the Divine King Realm, his strength had skyrocketed. So what if I killed your Su family's people? Today, I will kill you as well. Golden Elephant shouted. He used the space-severing sword and slashed at Su Yan. Su Yan was not afraid at all. He condensed a stone spear in his hand and swept it towards the Golden Elephant. Clang! The space-severing sword collided with the stone spear. There was an earth-shattering roar and energy overflowed. The energy was like a wave that swept in all directions. The ground was constantly cracking under the terrifying energy. Su Yan's body trembled and he retreated in the direction of the remaining 5 geniuses of the Jin family. Oh no, Su Yan, how dare you! Golden Elephant's face changed drastically and he roared. He could tell that Su Yan had deliberately borrowed his power to charge at the remaining geniuses of the Jin family. Su Yan's target was the other geniuses of the Jin family. Run! The geniuses of the Jin family were shocked and fled in all directions. However, Su Yan had already locked onto one of them. The stone spear pierced through. Su Yan had borrowed the power of Golden Elephant. How fast was his speed? The power of the stone spear was even more shocking. The genius of the Jin family was also a divine king. Naturally, he was unwilling to be killed. He roared and his body shone with a golden light. He used the space-severing hand and slashed at the stone spear, hoping to block Su Yan's attack. Chapter 31-33. The genius of the Jin family wanted to block Su Yan's attack, but the difference in strength was too great. Clang! When Su Ya's stone spear collided with the void-shattering hand of the Jin clan's genius, a terrifying explosion erupted. Then, the Jin clan's genius arm directly exploded. The genius of the Jin family screamed and retreated. However, Su Yan's attack was faster. The stone spear flashed like lightning and pierced through the genius head. He died on the spot. Another genius of the first layer of the King God realm was killed. Su Yan, you're courting death. Jin Xiang roared and charged towards Su Yan. However, Su Yan didn't want to fight Jin Xiang. He took a step forward and his body shot towards the next genius of the Jin family like a cannonball. Jin Xiang was furious and chased after him. However, before Jin Xiang could catch up with Su Yan had already caught up with the next genius of the Jin family and started attacking him like a storm. After a few moves, another genius of the Jin family was killed by Su Yan. Damn it! Damn it! Outside, the experts of the Jin family were roaring. Their eyes were red and their hearts were aching. Previously, when Jin Xiang killed the genius of the Su family, they were happy. Now, when the genius of the Jin family was killed, they finally understood what it meant to be heartbroken. Ha ha ha, good kill, kill all these sons of bitches. The experts of the Su family laughed heartily. They had finally gotten their revenge. The experts of the Su family laughed. The experts of the Jin family gritted their teeth and wanted to fight the experts of the Su family. Inside the formation, Su Yan killed 3 people in a row. The other geniuses of the Jin family scattered and ran far away. At the same time, Jin Xiang caught up with Su Yan and started attacking him fiercely. Fight! Su Yan was very aggressive. He waved his stone spear and fought with Jin Xiang. Although Jin Xiang had broken through to the King God realm earlier than Su Yan, his cultivation base was still in the first layer of the King God realm. Su Yan was fearless. The two of them fought fiercely for dozens of moves, but there was no clear winner. At this moment, a rainbow light flashed in the distance. Someone was coming. The commotion caused by the battle finally attracted the attention of the other Skyprides, who rushed over. Moreover, it wasn't just one genius from one family. There were at least 20 geniuses from several families. Jin Xiang's face immediately darkened. He still had the Divine Power Origin bead in his hands. Quick, the Divine Power Source Orb is in Jin Xiang's hands. It's in his hands. Su Yan shouted when he saw the others arrive. The geniuses who came later immediately looked at the golden elephant's left hand. The golden elephant's left hand was still holding onto the God Power Source Pearl. It really is the Divine Power Source Orb. The moment the Skyprides saw the God Power Source bead, their eyes burned with passion. The Divine Power Source Orb is mine. Jin Xiang, hand over the Divine Power Source Pearl. Several loud roars rang out as at least a dozen Skyprides pounced towards the golden elephant. One of them exuded a terrifying aura. This person was also a god king who had awakened his origin divine power. He was on the same level as Jin Xiang and Su Yan. Jin Xiang's face turned ugly. If there weren't such people, he wouldn't be afraid. However, with such people and Su Yan, he was no match for them at all. Jin Xiang immediately wanted to escape, but Su Yan held him back. Meanwhile, the other Skyprides had already arrived. Swoosh! 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 More than a dozen attacks enveloped Jin Xiang. Void severing hand, void severing. Jin Xiang shouted as his body emitted a dazzling golden light. He exerted his strength to the extreme and continuously slashed out golden palm prints. However, no matter how hard Jin Xiang tried to block, he was still no match for them. His attacks were defeated and his body shook violently as he drifted backward. His face was a little pale and there was a deep wound on his chest. Jin Xiang turned around and ran without thinking. Don't let him escape. Su Yan roared and was the first to chase after Jin Xiang. The other Skyprides also moved and chased after Jin Xiang. Soon, they had chased for tens of thousands of miles. Jin Xiang turned into a golden light and tried his best to escape. He was thinking of countermeasures in his mind. However, in the next moment, his expression changed. A group of people appeared in the void in front of him. There were more than a dozen of them and most of them carried sabers on their backs. Obviously, these people were from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. Jin Xiang was helpless and was about to hand over the Divine Power Source bead to save his life. However, when the Skyprides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence saw the Divine Power Source bead in Jin Xiang's hand, they looked at each other and retreated as if they were not going to participate. Jin Xiang was extremely surprised, but he did not have time to think. He flew past them and continued to escape. Su Yan and the others chased after him. Let them kill each other first. One of the Skyprides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence sneered. Outside the formation, the Nine Sabers Heavenly King's face turned ugly. Obviously, the Skyprides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence had already received instructions from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence to not compete with the Skyprides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. They would first let them kill each other and intensify the conflict between the various families in the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. Nine Sabers, in order to achieve your goal, you gave away a Divine Power Source bead for free so that the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence could produce a top-notch Skypride. I wonder if you lost or gained. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King sent a voice transmission to the Nine Sabers Heavenly King. Giving you a divine power source bead for free? 9 sabers, you're really naive. Do you think you can take away the divine power source bead with just your people? The 9 sabers heavenly king sneered. Is that so? The 9 sabers heavenly king sneered in response, but he had a bad feeling in his heart. Within the formation, although Jin Xiang was not stopped by the sky prides from the 9 sabers heavenly king residence, he did not run far before he encountered other sky prides from the 9 sabers heavenly king residence. When he was surrounded, he had no choice but to throw the divine power source bead out to save his life. In the end, it naturally led to a chaotic battle. No one could get the divine power source bead in the end. As long as someone got the divine power source bead, he would be besieged by the others. The battle became more and more intense, and more sky prides from the various families died in the battle. Outside the formation, everyone could see clearly that many families were at loggerheads with each other. If it were not for the 9 sabers heavenly king suppressing the situation, some families would have broken out into a war. The 9 sabers heavenly king's face was full of smiles. Now, everything was going according to his plan. The conflicts between the various families in the 9 sabers heavenly king residence were indeed getting deeper. Also, that brat who ruined my plan, I wonder if he has been killed? The 9 sabers heavenly king thought of Lu Ming again. Then, with a wave of his hand, the image in the sky suddenly changed. It switched from a chaotic battle to another image. There was only one person in the image, and that was Lu Ming. After Lu Ming entered the formation, he flew aimlessly. Unfortunately, he did not see the divine power source bead after a long time. This made Lu Ming speechless. Suddenly, Lu Ming stopped because there was a group of sky prides in front of him, blocking Lu Ming's path. They were the sky prides from the 9 sabers heavenly king residence. There were more than 10 of them, and each of them was staring coldly at Lu Ming. Chapter 31-34. A dozen supreme talents from the 9 sabers heavenly king mansion stood in front of Lu Ming, their eyes cold. It's that guy called Lu Ming. Huh, it's him. We are in luck. If we kill him, the heavenly king will reward us handsomely. A few supreme talents from the 9 sabers heavenly king mansion spoke, their faces ferocious and excited. Swoosh! Swoosh! In a flash, the supreme talents from the 9 sabers heavenly king mansion flew towards Lu Ming, forming an arc and surrounding Lu Ming. Cold auras locked onto Lu Ming. If Lu Ming dared to escape, they would launch a thunderous attack. Leave this kid to me. My previous battle with him is not over yet. A cold voice was heard. Then, a young man with a saber on his back stepped out, his violent aura shooting up to the sky. Lu Ming naturally knew this young man. He was the one who wanted to challenge Lu Ming after he defeated 2 supreme talents from the 9 sabers heavenly king mansion in a row in the heavenly king district. This person was someone who had awakened the origin divine power factor. However, before he could fight with Lu Ming, the 3rd prince, 9 Extremes Mu, had arrived and stopped the battle. Now that he had encountered Lu Ming, he would naturally be the first to step out and kill Lu Ming. Kid, now that no one is stopping you, I would like to see what you are capable of. The young man with a saber said coldly. A saber radiance shot up to the sky, and a vast saber power spread out in all directions. Cut the crap, let's fight. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. A long spear appeared in his hand, and with the injection of divine power, the long spear vibrated. In an instant, Lu Ming had activated the fight art, quadrupling his combat strength. His aura was powerful. Kid, remember, the one who will kill you is Duanjiang. The young man with a saber shouted coldly. Then, a huge spear radiance shot up and slashed towards Lu Ming. The saber radiance swept across a few thousand miles, bringing with it a violent force. Its power was extremely terrifying. Moon slashing. Lu Ming let out a long howl. He waved his long spear and slashed out. A crescent-shaped spear gleam slashed out. Boom! The spear light and the saber light heavily collided, stirring up a monstrous wave of qi. Lu Ming felt a powerful force surging towards him. His figure floated backwards, while Duan Zhang's figure also swayed slightly. Use your full strength. You're still far from being able to deal with me with this level of strength. Lu Ming's disdainful voice sounded. Arrogant. Cleaving saber, slash. Duan Zhang shouted as he unsheathed the saber on his back. A shocking saber light burst out, incomparably resplendent, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. The heaven-dispelling saber could dispel the heavens. With unparalleled momentum, it slashed toward Lu Ming. This slash was several times more powerful than the previous one. Lu Ming's pupils contracted. This saber strike made him feel a trace of danger. Roar! An ancient roar came out of Lu Ming's mouth. His body grew rapidly and turned into a green-armored ancient god that was hundreds of meters tall. After transforming into a green-armored ancient god, Lu Ming's strength skyrocketed. Buzz! The spear vibrated and swept out. The spear grew rapidly and was like a mountain range as it charged toward Duan Zhang. Boom! The two of them collided for the second time. The force that was released swept across a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Mountains were blasted away and exploded into pieces. The spear light and the saber light continued to vibrate. After a few breaths, the saber light shook violently and then shattered. The violent force surged toward Duan Zhang, causing him to retreat continuously. Lu Ming's figure also swayed and he retreated a few steps. However, the distance he retreated was shorter than Duan Zhang. A supreme being who has awakened his origin divine power factor is indeed powerful. Lu Ming could not help but exclaim in his heart. Although he did not use his strongest move, he had almost used his full strength. However, he only managed to gain a slight upper hand. One should know that he could easily crush a first heaven supreme being who had not awakened his origin divine power factor and possessed divine grade divine power. It could only be said that a prodigy who had awakened his origin divine power factor was much stronger than a prodigy who had not. Although Lu Ming had awakened his origin divine power factor with two types of divine powers, it was still not enough to make up for the difference. He could only rely on the battle character formula and ancient god body to make up for it. Unless Lu Ming had awakened his origin divine power factor with 5 to 7 types of divine powers, he could make up for the difference. After all, Lu Ming's cultivation was too low. Both of them had awakened their origin divine power factor. How could a 7th heaven god be compared to a 1st heaven supreme being? Lu Ming exclaimed. However, he did not know how shocked Duan Zhang and the prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents were. How is this possible? He's only a 7th heaven god. How can he be so powerful? Duan Zhang roared in his heart. He could not remain calm. A 7th heaven god was able to slightly suppress him. He was extremely shocked. Even the strongest prodigy of the War God clan, the one who could lead the War God clan to prosperity, was not this powerful. I don't believe it. Kill, kill. Duan Zhang yelled and unleashed his divine force to the maximum. He executed a terrifying secret technique and slashed continuously with his saber. His saber glow turned into ferocious tigers that charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was fearless. He charged forward with his spear and counterattacked. Bang! 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 The two exchanged blows in the air. At first, Duan Zhang was still able to fight a fierce battle with Lu Ming. However, after a dozen moves, Duan Zhang was no match for him. He was at a disadvantage and kept backing away. Outside the array, countless people saw this scene and fell into a daze. They were shocked by Lu Ming's strength. "This kid," the Nine Sabers' heavenly king murmured. He could not hide the astonishment in his eyes. Even the Nine Sabers' heavenly king was shocked, let alone the others. The patriarch of the Jin family, the patriarch of the Winged Man clan, and the others were extremely gloomy. They prayed in their hearts that the prodigies of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence could kill Lu Ming. "Duanjiang, today is not the time to fight one-on-one. Killing this kid is our top priority." At that moment, another prodigy of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence said coldly. "That's right. Let's join forces and kill him before anything else happens." The other prodigies of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence chimed in. Clang! Clang! Then, they unsheathed their sabers. Saber radiance burst out and stirred up the void. "Kill!" At that moment, Lu Ming suddenly yelled and changed his direction. He thrust his spear at the prodigy of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence. Although he was fighting with Duanjiang, he was aware of the movements of the other prodigies of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence. Since they wanted to join forces to kill him, he made a prompt decision to strike first. He immediately executed his strongest move, the exploding star. The huge spear radiance rushed toward the crowd of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence and exploded. It formed a destructive wave that swept toward the prodigies of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence. "Oh no, retreat, block it." The prodigies of the Nine Sabers' heavenly king residence did not expect Lu Ming to react so quickly. They had not even made a move yet, but Lu Ming had already launched a counterattack. They were shocked. Some of them retreated while others tried to block the attack. However, given Lu Ming's current cultivation, the exploding star was extremely terrifying. It was not something that ordinary people could block. Chapter 31-35. The destructive waves formed by the exploding stars swept out. Instantly, more than a dozen supreme talents from the Nine Sabers' heavenly king mansion were engulfed. Instantly, screams were heard. Some of the supreme talents who had yet to reach the supreme god realm were torn apart by the destructive energy and died on the spot. In an instant, 7 supreme talents from the Nine Sabers' heavenly king mansion were killed. The other supreme talents who had reached the supreme god realm were also forced to retreat. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and their bodies were tattered and covered with wounds. Among the crowd, only one youth was unharmed. He was a youth in a fiery red robe. He slashed out a scorching saber radiance and blocked Lu Ming's attack. "You are courting death." The youth in the fiery red robe roared furiously. His killing intent was extremely cold. It was definitely a great loss to have so many supreme talents killed in one move. Swoosh! The youth in the fiery red robe slashed out with his saber. A fiery saber radiance slashed towards Lu Ming. The terrifying heat was about to burn the space. The youth in the fiery red robe was also a terrifying supreme talent. He was no weaker than Duanjiang and had also awakened the origin divine power factor. Ice chains. Lu Ming's heart jolted. 9 ice chains flew out and intertwined with each other to form a wall in front of him. The fiery saber radiance slashed the wall formed by the ice chains, causing them to vibrate violently. Roar! Roar! On the other side, Duanjiang also launched an attack. His saber radiance formed ferocious tigers that pounced on Lu Ming. Every inch of this kind of ferocious tiger's body was made up of tiny saber gleams. Its power was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming dared not be careless. He cast the Divine Dragon aspect art and condensed 15 nine-clawed divine dragons, which pounced on the ferocious tigers. The two sides fought fiercely. However, Lu Ming could not stop Duanjiang and the youth in the red robe with just the ice chains and the divine dragon image. Rumble. First, the ice chains could not withstand the attacks and began to break apart. Divine Flame Saber. The youth in the red robe roared. The scorching saber radiance was even more terrifying. It pierced through the ice chains and charged towards Lu Ming. Moon slashing. Lu Ming charged forward with his spear and clashed with the youth. Boom! A dull explosion rang out in the sky. Lu Ming had blocked the opponent's attack, but his body trembled and he retreated continuously. He felt as if his body was enveloped by a sharp flame that could burn him to ashes at any time. Lu Ming continuously released his divine power before he was able to block this ball of flames. On the other side, Duanjiang also broke through the obstruction of the divine dragon Dharma idol and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was no match for the siege of the two geniuses. Against one of them, Lu Ming could barely suppress the other party if he tried his best. However, against two such geniuses, Lu Ming was no match for them. Die! Kill! The red-robed young man and Duanjiang both shouted as they executed their ultimate moves, charging towards Lu Ming, completely sealing off Lu Ming's escape route. Moon slaying, divine power surged continuously into Lu Ming's body through the quantification formula. Lu Ming's long spear slashed out continuously as he fought with the other party. In the blink of an eye, both sides had exchanged more than a dozen blows, but Lu Ming was still no match for them. His body trembled as he retreated continuously. He was completely suppressed. Sizzling sounds could be heard from Lu Ming's body. That was the result of the red-robed youth's divine flame saber landing on his body. Even the 9-layered crimson gold armor could not withstand it and would be burned through. This kid is dead meat. Outside the formation, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King chuckled. Previously, Lu Ming had killed 7 of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King Residence's Skyprides in one move, which made the 9 Sabers Heavenly King's face turn ugly. Now that he saw Lu Ming in a critical situation, he finally smiled. Not necessarily. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King said coldly. Then let's wait and see. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King sneered. At this moment, Lu Ming and Duanjiang had exchanged a few more blows. Exploding Star. Lu Ming suddenly thrust out his spear, and a spear radiance burst out and exploded. Exploding Star could be said to be Lu Ming's strongest move. Its power was astonishing, and the terrifying destructive force directly blasted Duanjiang back. Lu Ming's figure flashed and took the opportunity to escape from the encirclement. Don't go. If you have the guts, let's fight to the death. Duanjiang and the red-robed young man roared. Who said I'm leaving? Lu Ming stood in the air with his spear in hand. His aura was violent, and he had no intention of retreating. Lu Ming still had a trump card that he had not used, which was the quintuple combat strength increase of the battle character art. Lu Ming had just comprehended the quintuple combat strength increase of the battle character art, and the success rate of triggering it was extremely low, only 1 in 50. Once it was triggered successfully, Lu Ming's strength would skyrocket, and he would not be afraid of Duanjiang and the red-robed young man. As Lu Ming spoke, he kept triggering the battle character art, hoping to trigger it successfully. It's best if you don't leave. Duanjiang shouted. Just as he was about to rush towards Lu Ming, his face suddenly changed. He looked behind Lu Ming, and the red-robed young man did the same. Lu Ming also sensed something strange behind him. He released his spiritual senses and discovered that some figures were flying toward him at high speed. Obviously, the battle here had alerted the other Skyprides nearby. There were about a dozen people, and they were extremely fast. In a few moments, they appeared 1,000 miles behind Lu Ming and stopped. They're from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace. Duanjiang and the red-robed young man's faces darkened. The people behind them were the Skyprides of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace. In their opinion, the sky prides of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace would naturally help Lu Ming. Now that Lu Ming had a helper, it would be difficult to kill Lu Ming today. Everyone, this person has killed many of our experts. We must avenge him. I hope you won't interfere. Duan Jiang looked at the people behind Lu Ming and said. Don't interfere? No, no, no. Behind Lu Ming, a young man shook his head, causing Duan Jiang's face to turn gloomier. However, the young man suddenly changed the topic and said, since you want to kill Lu Ming, we want to kill him too. So, let's join forces. What? Duan Jiang and the red-robed young man were stunned by his words. Lu Ming's face did not change. Everything was within his expectations. Because the people behind them were old acquaintances of Lu Ming. These people were divided into 2 groups. They were the sky prides of the Winged Man family and the Qin family. Lu Ming smiled bitterly in his heart. It seemed like he was really unlucky. There were the sky prides of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace in front of him, and now there were the Winged Man family and the Qin family. This Lu Ming has a blood feud with our 2 families. He must die. A young man from the Winged Man family added. This person flapped his wings, emitting streaks of lightning. He was also a terrifying expert. I see. Ha ha ha. Great. Let's join forces and turn this person into ashes. Duan Jiang laughed. His saber aura surged and the saber radiance was shocking. He slashed at Lu Ming. At the same time, the red-robed young man also attacked. He slashed at Lu Ming with his divine flame saber. Kill. Behind them, the sky prides of the Winged Man family and the Qin family attacked together, bursting out terrifying attacks. Dozens of attacks blasted toward Lu Ming from all directions. Their power was extremely shocking. Chapter 31-36. The sky pride of the 9 Blades Heavenly King Mansion, the Qin family and the Winged Man family teamed up and launched dozens of attacks at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned solemn. Ice chains, 9 layers of crimson golden armor, sky-piercing. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming unleashed various means. The ice chain and the 9 layers of crimson gold armor protected his entire body. At the same time, the long spear stabbed madly. In an instant, dozens of spear gleams pierced in all directions. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's face changed drastically. His attacks were crushed by the 4 terrifying forces and exploded continuously. Boom! Boom! The 4 attacks pierced through Lu Ming's defense and sent Lu Ming flying as he coughed out mouthfuls of blood. Origin Divine Force Factor, Lu Ming muttered under his breath with a solemn face. He realized that the Winged Man family and the Qin family each had a first-layer Divine King Realm Sky Pride who had awakened their Origin Divine Force Factor. Including Duan Jiang and the red-robed youth, there were 4 of them. There were 4 Sky Prides of this level. 2 of them teamed up and Lu Ming was no match for them. 4 of them teamed up and Lu Ming was no match for them. Seems like it's easier to awaken one's Origin Divine Force Factor after reaching the Divine King Realm. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He didn't believe that all of them had awakened their Origin Divine Force Factor when they were below the Divine King Realm. The lower one's cultivation, the harder it was to awaken their Origin Divine Force Factor. There were so many Sky Prides in the Universal Camp, but only a few could awaken their Origin Divine Force Factor when they were below the Divine King Realm. But now, Lu Ming had encountered 4 in a short while. Most of them had awakened their Origin Divine Force after breaking through to the Divine King Realm. After breaking through to the Divine King Realm, one's Origin Divine Force would increase tremendously and their understanding of it would also increase. Some of the half-step Divine King Realm Sky Prides who had awakened their Origin Divine Force Factor at 99% would have a higher chance of awakening their Origin Divine Force Factor after breaking through to the Divine King Realm. Duanjiang and the red-robed youth's eyes lit up when they realized that the Winged Man family and the Qin family had such experts. "Kid, let's see how you're going to die." "Kill!" Duanjiang roared as he charged towards Lu Ming. At the same time, the other Skyprides also attacked. "Retreat!" Lu Ming executed the Nine Heavens Garuda technique and rapidly retreated. At the same time, he constantly activated the battle formula. However, his luck wasn't good. The battle incantation's quintuple combat power hadn't been triggered yet. "You want to leave? Today, you must die." That genius from the Winged Clan who had awakened his quintessence Godforce snorted coldly. With a flap of his wings, his body transformed into a bolt of lightning as he shot out with astonishing speed. The Thunder-Winged Man cultivated the God power and awakened the God power origin. Everything was related to thunder and lightning. Once the Thunder-Winged Man burst out, his speed was terrifying. Moreover, he had the cultivation of the first sky of King God realm. Thus, he was much faster than Lu Ming. After a few flashes, he caught up with Lu Ming. "Lightning Cage!" The youth from the Winged Clan coldly shouted. His wings flapped, and boundless lightning erupted, forming a cage that enveloped Lu Ming within. Lu Ming brandished his spear and struck the lightning cage. But the lightning cage only shook. It would be difficult to break it in a short period of time. The attacks of the others had also arrived. Lu Ming could only defend with all his might. However, against four geniuses like Duanjiang and the support of other geniuses, Lu Ming was in danger. He was no match for them at all. Although he tried his best to defend himself, he couldn't completely block them. Bang! A terrifying fist energy struck Lu Ming's body. It was the seven-injuring fist of the Qin clan's genius. Its destructive power was astonishing. Lu Ming's body was sent flying, crashing into the lightning cage. The lightning cage exploded and Lu Ming spurted out blood from his mouth. This scene was witnessed by the people outside the array. "Hee, this kid is finally going to be killed. Die, die." The people from the Jin clan, Winged Clan, and Qin clan were roaring in their hearts. Facing such a situation, they didn't believe that Lu Ming would be able to survive. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King sneered. He looked at the Nine Sabers Heavenly King and sneered, "Nine Sabers Heavenly King, looks like your people aren't united at all." "Huh. Humph." The Nine Sabers Heavenly King's face was cold and he didn't answer. The Wu clan and some people who were close to Lu Ming were worried. "Is such a talented genius going to die today?" Someone whispered. Lu Ming's talent had shocked most of the people. Now that they saw that Lu Ming was at risk of dying, many of them felt it was a pity. At this moment, Lu Ming was indeed in a precarious situation. After the first wave of attacks, the second wave of attacks came immediately. "Trigger, trigger, damn it," Lu Ming roared in his heart. At this moment it was difficult for the battle formula to trigger 5 times combat strength. One of the reasons was that the probability of the battle formula triggering 5 times combat strength was low. Another reason was that he couldn't trigger it wholeheartedly because of the continuous attacks from the others. "I can't die, Starburst, Starburst," Lu Ming roared in his heart. His eyes were ferocious as he continuously used the Starburst technique. Now, he could only rely on himself to fight for the divine power source speed. Naturally, he couldn't rely on external forces. Therefore, Qiuqiu naturally couldn't follow Lu Ming. Lu Ming could only rely on himself. Continuously using the Starburst technique could only temporarily stop the other party. Lu Ming's crisis wasn't over yet. Heaven Dispelling Blade. Thunder Slash. 7 Injuries Divine Fist. Divine Flame Battle Blade. The 4 strongest Skyprides unleashed their strongest attacks, destroying the destructive power of the Starburst technique and charging towards Lu Ming. "Block it." Lu Ming shouted. The divine power in his body circulated crazily, squeezing out all of his divine power and raising his condition to the extreme. Boom! At this moment, in the face of danger, Lu Ming's mind seemed to have exploded. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly calmed down. Lu Ming became extremely calm as if he had entered an ethereal state. The ethereal state of life and death. Under the threat of death, Lu Ming once again touched upon this mysterious and profound state. In this realm, Lu Ming suddenly had a new understanding of the various divine skills, secret skills, and various kinds of divine powers that he had cultivated. Especially regarding the sovereign's divine power. Under Blue Merchant's guidance, Lu Ming's understanding of the sovereign's divine power was the deepest. He had already reached the peak of the first awakening. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have touched upon something within the sovereign's divine power essence. He seemed to have seen a door within the sovereign's divine power essence. Yes, it was a door, an ancient stone door. It was incomparably huge and exuded a boundless aura. Lu Ming could sense a terrifying power from this stone door. He tried to approach the stone door, and to his surprise, he succeeded. He touched the edge of the stone door. At this moment, he also had a feeling that he could borrow the power of this stone door. Boom! A violent explosion rang out, and Lu Ming's mind cleared. He had left the ethereal state of life and death. Meanwhile, the attacks from all directions were coming at him from all directions. At this moment, Lu Ming instinctively activated his sovereign's divine power without hesitation. A stone door appeared above his head. Chapter 31-37. A stone door appeared above Lu Ming's head. This stone door was the one that Lu Ming had seen in the Sovereign Godforce Quintessence Godforce. However, the stone door was extremely dim at this moment, as if it would collapse at any moment. Kill! Lu Ming controlled the stone door. The stone door suddenly shook, and a terrifying energy burst out. Boom! 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 This energy was shockingly strong. When it collided with the attacks of Duanjiang and the others, it actually neutralized all of their attacks. Quintessence Secret Technique. This is the Quintessence Secret Technique. Lu Ming's heart beat wildly. He had a feeling that this should be the Quintessence Secret Technique, a secret technique that was comprehended from the Quintessence Godforce. Lu Ming didn't expect that he would comprehend the Quintessence Secret Technique when he was in a state of emptiness of life and death. However, Lu Ming's control over the stone door was extremely weak. The stone door could collapse at any moment. I have to leave and find a place to comprehend it properly. Otherwise, I might waste this opportunity. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Then, he exerted all his strength to control the faintly discernible stone door, and suddenly attacked the strongest Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan. This Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan was too fast. If he wanted to attack, he would attack this person first. Buzz! The faintly discernible stone door pressed down on the Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan. A berserk energy surged towards the Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan. Thunderbolt slash. The Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan hastily attacked to block, but when the stone door pressed down, the Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan's attack directly collapsed. Boom! The faintly discernible stone door bombarded the Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan. The Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan let out a miserable shriek as his body was sent flying over 10,000 li, scattering feathers all over the sky. The Heaven's Pride of the Winged Clan was heavily injured by a single move. His body almost exploded, and his aura was extremely weak. What a powerful force! Lu Ming was inwardly shocked. The power of the stone door had exceeded his expectations. Lu Ming could barely control it, and couldn't display much of its power. However, he still managed to heavily injure the heavens pride of the winged clan who had awakened quintessence Godforce Godforce Godforce. Unfortunately, after that attack, the stone door trembled and disappeared like a phantom. Go! Lu Ming took the opportunity to use the Garuda technique and rushed out of the encirclement. He turned into a rainbow light and rushed into the distance. Lu Ming had heavily injured the winged clan's heaven's pride with a single move, causing Duanjiang and the others to be slightly stunned. By the time they reacted and wanted to chase after him, it was already too late. Lu Ming had already rushed 100,000 miles away. Their speed was far inferior to that of the winged clan's genius. Even if they wanted to chase after him now, it was already too late. However, they were unwilling to give up. Chase! Duanjiang roared and turned into a saber light, chasing after Lu Ming. The red-robed young man did the same and quickly chased after him. The expression of the Qin clan's prodigy changed, but he didn't pursue. Duanjiang and the red-robed young man chased for a while, but they failed to catch up with Lu Ming. Instead, the distance between them and Lu Ming was increasing. In the end, they completely lost track of Lu Ming. Damn it! Duanjiang and the red-robed young man roared, their expressions extremely ugly. So many experts had besieged Lu Ming, but Lu Ming had escaped. They were furious. What kind of attack was that? Duanjiang and the red-robed young man thought of the faintly discernible stone door that Lu Ming controlled, and a trace of fear flashed in their eyes. That kind of attack not only blocked their attacks, but also severely injured a heaven's pride of the same level as them. Its power was terrifying. They naturally didn't know that it was Lu Ming's origin source secret skill. Even Lu Ming himself was only guessing and couldn't be sure. Ha ha ha. Outside the formation, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King laughed heartily, causing the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's face to darken. Compared to before, the two of them were the exact opposite. As for the Jin clan, Winged clan, and Qin clan experts, their faces were extremely gloomy. Under such conditions, Lu Ming had escaped, which made them feel somewhat indignant. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King waved his hand, and the scene in the sky changed again. Lu Ming's figure continued to appear. Lu Ming was seen flying rapidly in a direction. After flying for a few hours, Lu Ming stopped. It's here. Lu Ming muttered to himself. Then, he swooped down and dashed toward the ground. The long spear in his hand spun rapidly. Like a drill, it drilled a hole in the ground and Lu Ming rushed in. In the scene, there was no trace of Lu Ming. This scene could only be seen from a bird's eye view. If one was blocked by obstacles, they wouldn't be able to see it. Lu Ming had entered the ground, so they naturally couldn't see it. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King could only continue to change the scene, and it landed on the fight for the Divine Power Source Pearl. More and more Heaven's Prides joined in the fight for the Divine Power Source Pearl, and the battle became more and more intense. However, none of this had anything to do with Lu Ming. After Lu Ming rushed into the ground, he opened up a huge space in the depths of the ground, blocking the entrance. Lu Ming began to cultivate in this underground space. Is it an origin secret technique or not? Lu Ming's eyes shone with desire. If it was really an origin secret technique, then he would have struck gold. Immediately, Lu Ming circulated his sovereign's god force at full force, carefully comprehending the feeling he had before. In the beginning, he didn't feel anything. However, 2 days later, Lu Ming saw the stone door through the sovereign's origin god force. Buzz! Lu Ming tried to control the stone door, causing it to vibrate slightly. However, he was still unfamiliar with it. Lu Ming's thoughts moved, and a stone door appeared above his head. However, it was very blurry, faintly discernible. Soon, it collapsed. Not enough proficiency, continue to comprehend, Lu Ming muttered under his breath, and then focused on comprehending the stone door. Time passed day by day. Lu Ming became more proficient in using the stone door, and the stone door became clearer when it appeared. The time Lu Ming could use the stone door also increased greatly. On this day, the stone door shook violently, emitting a resplendent light. Then, 3 words appeared in Lu Ming's mind: Sovereign's Gate. Sovereign's Gate, it's really an origin secret technique, ha ha ha. Lu Ming laughed heartily, extremely excited. This time, he had entered this grand formation to fight for the divine power source pearl and awaken his origin secret technique. However, before he could obtain the divine power source pearl, Lu Ming had already awakened his origin secret technique. This was definitely a great harvest. If Duan Jiang and the others know that not only did they not kill me, but they also helped me awaken my origin secret technique, I wonder what their expressions will be like. Lu Ming muttered under his breath. Duan Jiang and the others originally wanted to kill Lu Ming. In the end, not only did they fail to kill Lu Ming, but they even helped Lu Ming awaken his origin secret technique. If they knew, they would probably vomit blood from anger. There's still more than a day before the 1-month deadline. Forget it, I'll stop cultivating and go out for a stroll. I can't miss the divine power source pearl. Let's see if I can find one. Lu Ming muttered under his breath, then left the underground space. Chapter 31-38. Although Lu Ming had awakened the origin source secret skill, Lu Ming had mastered more than one type of divine power. Inextinguishable sword force, Lu Ming had also awakened the origin source divine power factor and could also awaken the origin source secret skill. Lu Ming did not mind having too many divine power source beads. After leaving the underground space, Lu Ming flew towards the core of the formation. After flying for a while, Lu Ming actually did not meet anyone. Where did everyone go? Could it be that the time has passed? No, I've calculated, there's still more than a day. Lu Ming was a little confused and continued to fly forward. Suddenly, he saw a few figures flying quickly in a direction. These people were the geniuses of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion and did not have any conflict with Lu Ming. Everyone, where are you going? Lu Ming quickly caught up and asked. Lu Ming. When the geniuses saw Lu Ming, their expressions changed. One of them said, I heard that there are many geniuses fighting for the divine power source bead some distance ahead. Let's go and take a look. Fighting for the divine power source beads? Looks like the divine power source beads have no owners yet. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and immediately followed the few young men and flew forward. Outside the formation, everyone stared at the big screen in the sky without blinking. The atmosphere was particularly solemn. Many experts of the families were exuding a cold aura. For nearly a month, the fight for the divine power source beads had not stopped. There were battles and killings every day. Every day, there would be geniuses falling. The major families of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion had suffered heavy losses and the conflicts were getting deeper. Therefore, outside the formation, the experts of the major worlds were furious. If it were not for the 9 Extinction Heavenly King, they would have really started a war. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King was full of smiles. His goal had been achieved. The conflicts between the major families of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King had deepened to the point that it could not be eased. It could be expected that after this incident, the friction between the major families would definitely intensify. Internal friction in the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion, this was the 9 Sabers Heavenly King's goal. On the screen, a huge group of geniuses had surrounded a valley so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. This valley flickered with light, and streak after streak of symbols appeared. It was actually a great formation that protected this valley. In the valley, there were 6 or 7 youths trying their best to maintain the formation. Outside the valley, a large group of youths was attacking continuously, trying to break the formation. However, the formation was abnormally strong, and they couldn't break it in a short period of time. "Zhao Mo, hand over the divine power source pearl!" shouted someone in the crowd. His entire body was shining with a golden light. That person was one of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan, Jin Zhu. He had already recovered from the injuries he had sustained during the fight for the God Power Source bead. Whoosh! A beam of golden sword light shot out from his hand and landed on the formation. The formation shook, but it did not break. Around the golden elephant, there were at least 7 or 8 sky prides of the same level as him. They attacked together, including the 2 sky prides from the Wing tribe and the Qin tribe who had awakened their divine origin power. With so many peerless geniuses and other geniuses attacking at the same time, how terrifying would their power be? However, they were unable to break through the formation of the valley in a short amount of time. The people from the Zhao tribe are really cunning. They must have started to set up the formation the moment they entered this place. The sky prides from the Wing tribe shouted angrily. He had been severely injured by Lu Ming back then, but he had recovered by now. The other sky prides also had ugly expressions. The Zhao tribe was also a large tribe in the 9 extinction Heavenly King residents. They specialized in formations. The sky prides of the Zhao tribe must have set up the formation the moment they entered the competition. Otherwise, a formation that was set up in a hurry would not be so powerful. Only a formation that was set up in advance would be so powerful. They had been attacking for a day and a night, but they still couldn't break through the formation. The strongest prodigy of the Zhao clan, Zhao Mo, was also a prodigy who had awakened his origin source divine power. After he had snatched the divine power source pearl, he had led the members of the Zhao clan to hide in this valley. He had made use of the array that had been set up beforehand to fend off the attacks of others. The other sky prides had gathered and attacked the formation for a day and a night, but they still couldn't break through it. There was only about a day left until the 1-month deadline. As long as the divine power source pearl was still in Zhao Mo's hands, according to the rules, the divine power source pearl would belong to Zhao Mo. You can't break through it. Give up. Zhao Mo's voice came from the valley. Nonsense, how can there be an unbreakable formation? I think it won't take long for us to break through it. Jin Xiang shouted. He had a strong desire for the divine power source pearl. You can break through it, but you won't be able to do it within a day. Zhao Mo said. Not necessarily. Quick, attack with all your might. I don't believe we can't break through this formation. Jin Xiang roared angrily. His body emitted a golden light like a golden man as he continuously slashed at the formation. The other sky prides also unleashed their full strength. Their attacks landed on the formation, causing it to explode. In the valley, Zhao Mo and the other members of the Zhao tribe trembled slightly as their faces turned pale. Controlling the formation to block the attacks of so many sky prides had put them under a lot of pressure. They can't hold on much longer. Continue attacking. We'll definitely be able to break through this formation in less than a day. Jin Xiang roared when he saw this scene. The others also sped up their attacks as if they had taken stimulants. Brother Wu, Brother Wei, our tribes have always been on good terms. Are you going to help others attack us too? At this moment, Zhao Mo looked at 2 young men and said loudly. One of the 2 young men was a sky pride of the Wu tribe, while the other was a sky pride of the Wei tribe. They were the leaders of the 2 tribes in the fight for the divine power source pearl this time. Both of them had awakened their origin divine power. For the sake of the divine power source pearl, we can only apologize. The sky pride of the Wei tribe said. There's only one divine power source pearl, but there are so many people. Even if you break through our formation, how confident are you in obtaining the divine power source pearl? Zhao Mo said loudly. This made the expressions of the sky prides of the Wu tribe and Wei tribe change slightly. Indeed, there were too many experts on the scene, including many sky prides of the same level as them. Even if they managed to break through the Zhao tribe's formation, how confident were they in obtaining the divine power source pearl? Zhao Mo is trying to sow discord. If we don't break through their formation, we won't have any chance at all. Once we break through their formation, we'll compete with our own strength. Jin Xiang snapped coldly. Compete with our own strength? How much hope do we have? There are so many people here, and the people of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's residence have yet to show up. They might be nearby and reap the benefits. Zhao Mo yelled. Not only were the sky prides of the Wu tribe and Wei tribe startled, the others were startled too. That was indeed the case. They were not idiots, thus they immediately figured it out. During this period, the people of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's residence had yet to make their move. It was very likely that they would make their move at the last moment. Fengyun Reading Network, you're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.